that's all right. It's me and you. We got a special kind of friendship.
I am not your friend.
Sure you are. Fishing buddy?
There you are, fish buddy. Love that movie. Love that movie. So we have got some folks in the chat. Let's see who's here. Gambit, Snorty. Penny had to leave, though, but Penny was here. She's going somewhere with the baby today. Sally Forth. And that's it. Oh, the buzz is back. And we got some comments. Sender Hammerschlag. By the way, Vicki and guys, we have a lot of followers for the channel all the way over in Europe. So this is Sandra Hammerschlag, and he says, that is how I do Blade Runner for almost, oh wait, you said something before. Why doesn't anybody ever star these comments so I can read them in order? I don't know what he's referring to because I don't see any other previous comment. So, but anyway, a lot of fans of Blade Runner out there. And let's see. That is how it. Oh, okay. So it's this comment? No, it's not that one. I don't know what's going on there.
Let me do it. Let me do it. Oh, big one. Here's comment from Sander is this.
Oh, that's what my ex-wife called me. Right, cold fish. That's a great line. By the way, you know, one thing I've never asked you, Vicki, was he a replicant or a human to you?
In my opinion, he was human.
Amen.
He was
Marc.
human, and in my opinion, it was also shown in the fact that the replicants beat the shit out of him every 5 seconds.
Why would you make a replicant that's a pussy? Why?
Exactly. That and then he could quit. You can't, if you're a replicant, you can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to be a replicant anymore." You can't quit.
And let's talk about something real quick here on this, because the scene where he's walking past Sean Young and goes behind her and he's slightly out of focus and you see the glow in his eyes. Okay.
Yes.
That means he's a replicant. And then earlier, though, I said, if you watch the scene with Holden, when he's talking to Leon at the beginning of the movie, right when it starts to get serious, when Leon, you can see his posture change, and he pulls out that pistol and puts his hands under the table. Holden does the exact same thing. A lot of people don't notice that, but it cuts to his face, and his eyes are glowing. I said, so you're telling me Holden's a replicant too by doing that, right? But then we find out he's been put on life support. I said, that makes no sense. That's a logic issue. Why would he be put on life support if he was a fucking replicant?
Exactly.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly. He's going to die in 5 minutes. Why do that? Well,
Exactly.
my opinion, and of course, I was an assistant director, but not high up. So really didn't tend to ask me my opinion about things. But from what I understood, that was a mistake, because the way that they had the camera set up so that it would reflect the red light, for Rachel, he got into that light, and that reflected his eyes as red for a second.
Now, the argument is this. Ridley claimed that was on purpose, but other people that were there said it just happened.
Yeah, almost everybody who was there at the time will say it just happened. And of course, it's one of those things where you can't tell while you're shooting it. You've set this thing up and it's going in that direction. So it just so happened he stepped into that light that made your eyes reflect. And they don't know that until the next day when you saw what we used to call dailies.
Right.
And dailies were all of the printed takes from the day before. They're rushed through. they're made into a work print, and they're given to the editor. And the next day at lunchtime, all the department heads go to dailies and they watch and see what happened yesterday. So, especially if you're doing a location or something, you don't want to release the location until you find out that all of the film is good. So it's like if you think, oh, everything was fine, and then you go to the dailies and see some DeLorean drive through the back of the shot, and you go, oh crap, we can't use that. We have to go back. You don't want to have been striking the set and taking it down until you know that it's okay. And so now in this instance, we had more of a control over everything because we were on stage, we were on Warner Brothers lot, but we were still downtown. We were still at the Ennis Brown house. We still had locations, and so that's something that you always held back, especially if you were in production, until you saw the dailies. So if they saw the dailies and they decided we were very behind, we were very behind the first week. If they decided we don't have time to go back and correct that, then it is. And now if Ridley decides, ooh, that's kind of cool because maybe that makes him a replicant, that's in his mind, that was not ever discussed.
Well, this is where, because like, who brought up Hampton Fancher? Because I talked to Hampton, and it was never in the script that he was going to be a replicant. That was all Ridley. And
Yeah.
Hampton had a problem with it because it's a logic issue in your storytelling. If he's a replicant, why is he a replicant? And they never give a good answer to that. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. What was the need of that? And of course, Ford was against it because he said the audience needs somebody to identify with and to root for. And if you make Deckard a replicant, you remove that. And it's led. By the way, Vicki, you can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. I'm pretty positive I'm right. That the reason why Ridley stepped down as director for Blade Runner 2049 was during that drink session where he, Gosling, and Ridley sat together, smoked cigars and drank some booze, and it was said that the argument came up again. But they tried to play it off like it was funny. But what I said was, Harrison Ford said he's not doing that shit again. Not going to go through that. He hated it. And it's one of the reasons why he didn't want to do the sequel. And he said right then and there, if you're going to do that, I'm out. And that forced the producers over at Alcon Entertainment to make a decision with Ridley. And
Yeah,
you think I'm right?
Ridley doesn't want anybody to tell him what to do. So anybody who comes in and says, no, we're not, we want to do it a different way, then he's like, well, then you don't want me, because he needs autonomy. That's
Right.
how he works. That's how he's always worked. And so for them to come in and say, I mean, it's kind of a movie stylization that your main character is the new person in the situation, so that they are going through this new world and you're going through it with them. And the biggest thing I can think of right now is Harry Potter. Okay, so Harry Potter did not know that he was a witch or warlock or whatever until he's 15 or whatever. If he knew from the time he was born, that would make it a completely different movie. And then he would know about going to the train station and running headfirst into the wall because you're going to go into a new train, and all of that stuff that we're learning as an audience, he's learning and we are with him. And I think that was the argument that Harrison was saying, is in this, you need to have a human being that's there to show you what this world is about. And say, people who had money, they left the planet. People who didn't have money, they're back down here.
This is an
You know,
element that's in the book too, because you had the people going off world in the book because of World War Terminus. It was like the Third World War, and that's why animals were dying, and hence the whole animal theme in the book and in the film. I really like that shit. By the way, Pat, that's a good friend of mine. Pat asks, I look Charlie Deslarica. You know who he is, right, Vicki?
yes, yes.
Charlie's an old friend of mine, and he said that when he did an interview for Digital Bits, that I'm like the most knowledgeable Blade Runner person out there, and I'm like, no, I'm not. But thank you, but no, I'm not. But I did have something here I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to get my good friend Marc's reaction to this. There it is. This is the black hole gun that Leon fires when he shoots Holden. And you can only see it for 2 frames. This frame and the next frame where the purple looking energy goes past this keyboard and hits Holden in the chest. What did you think of that, Marc, as a science guy, the idea of a black hole gun?
It's complete science fiction still, so there's no way to expect that it's real. But you know what? I've always set my belief aside and let the fantasy take over when science fiction's in play, because otherwise you'll never enjoy it. But as far as a black hole gun, not the first time it's been used. It's been used in other movies. I've seen a typical, a similar black hole gun thing. I'm trying to remember the movie I just watched that had it in there, where they throw a grenade. It was a black hole grenade, and opens up a black hole and sucks up these soldiers that are, on the battlefield, and they're gone, of course. But they weren't actually killed. They were transported through a Einstein-Rosen bridge or a wormhole to another planet, where they ended up in the middle of a desolation.
Maybe that's what happens to Holden's guts is they're but what I always liked about it, though, Marc, was the fact that the idea this being negative energy encapsulated, and it's sort of like when you hear that they create these micro black holes that only last for like a few seconds, and I thought, a nanosecond, it's just like something like that being contained within like a plasma beam or some shit like that is such a neat idea that when it makes impact, instead of exploding, it implodes and pulls whatever's near it into it.
I mean, that's...
But wait, you know who originally invented that?
Bugs Bunny, wasn't it? Oh, Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. When he had the black hole and he could put it anywhere and it would take him to wherever he wanted to go.
Yeah, and it made that cool noise. It would go pink, and then it was called Acme Portable Hole.
Oh my god!
Exactly. So it's actually old as time, but you just had to dress it up and make it look a little more modern.
Yeah, but
that is so cool.
This is a case where science fiction precedes science fact. The interesting thing is that. Literally, one of my most popular lectures I give is on interdimensional travel. That might be the reason why alien creatures could actually be here if they're out there. And it was invented in the 1920s by 2 physicists, named Kaluza and Klein. And
we were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, we were, and so it has to do with micro black holes and where these Kaluza-Klein particles, which CERN is now looking at, by the way, exist. They exist not in our 4 dimensions, X, Y, and Z moving through time, but they exist in a 5th dimension. And that 5th dimension is where they come from. So, and they actually are very much tied to gravity. And that's why we don't know what gravity is, because it's not just in our 4 dimensions. It exists in this 5th one too. And so, it exists in this 5th one too. So we have to have 4 and 5 connected to each other to understand gravity fully. But the Kaluza-Klein particles come from the 5th, peek into the 4th. We can create them here, but then they'll take us into the 5th. Now, the benefits of being able to go into the 5th dimension, as I've told Gary a few times, is that it allows us to punch out of our 4 dimensions. And what would that look like to our eyes? Well, we would literally watch someone disappear right in front of you, and you could reach and they're gone. There's really nobody there. but they're actually in the fifth dimension. Then they could pop in at another entry point, another X, Y, and Z coordinate, say 20 feet away. And they would never have traversed the space between where they were and where they now are. And that means that you literally pop out of the four dimensions and pop in at another place. That's kind of interesting.
Well, I know the connection too to Colosa Klein with Eric Weinstein, and he's wanting to fight for the working on another theory called geometric unity, and his theory has 14, as I recall, dimensions, right?
Yeah. Well, that we're talking. You're going down the string theory path, and string theory. Why do we even use it? Well, we use it because we need more than four dimensions in order to do this type of stuff, and so string theory gives us these additional dimensions.
The additional dimension.
And that fifth one, we don't even need any of the others. We just need the fifth one because we could literally go from here to Alpha Centauri in as little as 20 minutes, according to a Stanford physicist who did the calculation using this process. And so, but how do you do it? You do it with what you were talking about. You use these micro black holes are created by the Kaluza Klein particles themselves when they're formed, because these little micro black holes, which live only a nanosecond, that's a billionth of a second, okay? But in that time, they're absorbing a tiny bit of everything around them, including light that might be coming to your eye, including a little bit of the air for a moment, a split second, a real split second, and the Earth gravitons, which are holding you down. So they don't allow Earth gravity to get to this ship. So the ship would actually just kind of flutter and just hang. Lots of reports of that. So, as far as, is this science fiction? Well, yeah, it's science fiction right now. But is it always going to be science fiction?
No, I absolutely believe that eventually some of these theories will come to be. Well, it's hard to call them fact because it's people know, because we have laws in science, and some of the things remain a theory. And go, well, it's just a theory. I said, well, it's a kind of theory. It's still proven until it's disproven later. And that's why it remains in that theoretical area. Because if there's a potential that theory could change, they leave it in the theory and not turn it into a law.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what the transporter would be, like on Star Trek?
Well, yeah, actually, it's a very good point, because in my book, I talk about transporters, and I also talk about nanotechnology. Because one of the things that's important to understand is that transporters could effectively be exactly that, where they actually disappear from one set of coordinates where they are and appear at another set of coordinates. Now, that technology is, of course, nothing we can do right now. But CERN, the Large Hadron Collider overseas, they're looking for these Kaluza Klein particles, actually. And there's a white paper on their website. You can look it up. Kaluza, all these are Kaluza and Klein with K's, Kaluza. And you look it up, and you will see that there's a white paper talking about the hunt for these particles. And the reason? Because they're very, very interesting. And that very interesting part about them is that they may bridge us to interstellar travel. And that's what's interesting about it, because it took us 10 years to get to Pluto with the New Horizons probe. 10 years. Okay? It took us over 30 to get out of the solar system with the Voyagers. So that doesn't work for us. But I can see, and a lot of people now, including Avi Loeb at Harvard, can see a time when we can find our way to Pluto in about 3 minutes using this technology to have lunch and then come back. I mean, I know that sounds so unbelievably far-fetched, but it really isn't anymore. It used to be just science fiction.
We were talking about that shit, folding space, back when I was in middle school in the 70s.
Yes.
And this one physicist, they did this documentary on PBS, and I can't remember. I got a copy of it too, where he sat there and he picked up a slice of pizza and he folded it, and that blew my fucking mind.
Yeah,
as a kid.
Yeah, but that's all happening in the four dimensions, though. That's not going into the fifth dimension or any other dimension. That's like this. This is space, right? This corner is where we are on Earth, and this corner is Alpha Centauri. You want to go there, you can go like this. Yeah. And if you go straight across, okay, it'll take us 10,000 years minimally to get there at the fastest speed we can travel. But if you have the energy, you can actually fold space and fold Alpha Centauri. I dropped the universe. I'm sorry. We're all dead.
We're all dead.
I'll do it this way. Okay. You could fold space, right? And you fold Earth and Alpha Centauri's location closer to each other, and then step over the little gap, mind the gap, and then unfold space. And boom, you're there. I mean, that's a very rough idea of how it works, but that's called the Alcubierre drive. And Miguel Alcubierre came up with that in 1994, and it required a lot of energy to accomplish even the whole approach. And that meant the energy was so unbelievably costly that to develop the energy to just do one jump, that it's like converting the entire mass of Jupiter to energy. You remember that famous equation, Einstein, E equals mc squared, right? Okay, well, m is mass and c squared is light, and then E is energy. Well, you take the mass of Jupiter, okay, which is huge, and multiply it times the square of light, and you get the amount of energy out of it. Well, you need to use about that much energy to do one jump in this particular warp drive situation. So it certainly wouldn't happen, that's the most convenient way to go, because doing it that way, it would still take you 5 days to get to Alpha Centauri. So you're doing lots of jumps. Okay. So you can do a lot. So how would you actually get there if for real? That's way too slow. What if you want to go 300 light years away? 5 days to go 4 light years? You do the math. You're going to have to bring a lunch or two, so it's not so hot. But if you actually do this dimensional travel thing, which is actually on the boards, it's not actually something that's science fiction only on Wikipedia. Okay. It is actually something they're studying right now. And the first person to get it is going to be a hectobillionaire.
Folding
Real
space
quick.
was also talked about in Dune.
Talked about in Dune, yep. And
That's why you had the people who could figure out how to fold space, and they could go across time and stuff. So things, it's always interesting to me that, I mean, everything comes up with an idea, and then somebody's like, well, that's not actually what can happen, and then somebody else says, well, maybe it is.
Hey, watch me, right?
Yeah, and so
the stage 3 navigators in Dune are a good example.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, and when you said folding space, I thought, dude. When you said, you can go through, and I thought transporter. I mean, it's like, and those are words we've heard for a long time. Dune is not new, and Star Trek is not new. But I was telling somebody, was reading Jurassic Park. And I said, I really like Michael Crichton. And I said, because he always, to me, goes to one step beyond what we could do now.
That's right.
And he's also cautionary.
Is totally normal. And then he just takes that one more step.
Yeah, but everything he does, too, Vicki, is a cautionary tale.
Andromeda Strain.
What could fucking happen?
Yes. I remember when
Which was his first book he used his real name on, was Andromeda Strain.
When I was in junior high school, I was doing a needlepoint, little small needlepoint project, and I thought, I want to do this, but I don't want to just sit here. So I'm going to watch television, and I'll do my needlepoint. And I thought, oh, this new movie is coming on television. So obviously I had not seen it. Andromeda Strain. So I turn it on, and the next thing I know, I am pulling my needlepoint so hard, I am warping it, because I'm so into everything that's going on that I realize if I keep doing this, I'm going to ruin my project. And I just put it down and sat on the side of the bed and watched the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. And Doug Trumbull was working on. He did that movie too.
Yes,
he did.
And so
some
that
of the
was
shit
one
he
of
pulled
those
off
things
in that.
where, you just kind of
We've
like,
talked about
oh, there's some people and there's something, and you're thinking, well, all of this seems very today, very rational. Like I could see this happening.
Yep.
But it's just that next step. And so that was the very first time I'd ever seen anything that he had done. And I became a big fan, and I've seen, a lot of his movies and read a lot of his books and stuff. But it's just that I think that, especially like with Blade Runner was once again, like a Michael Crichton, this is what's possible. And let's just go one step farther. And one step farther was, well, people are not volunteering to go fight wars anymore, but we don't get along with anybody, and we still need people to fight our wars for us. So let's build people who will go and fight our wars for us. But let's put some fail safes, because if they get too strong or too smart or whatever, we don't want them to take over. And so, okay, let's give them a 4-year lifespan. Let's make sure they can't come back to Earth. All of those things that were put in the movie were all possible. And I think that that's what makes it not necessarily the stereotypical science fiction movie where you're in spacesuits. It's not Buck Rogers where you're in these slick suits. Because I'm always like, but where's my lipstick? Like, where's my chapstick? Like, how do I carry that around in this suit?
March.
You can't have Velcro on everything, and it's like, oh, there's my comb and there's my, because then you're not cool. So the fact that we had actual clothes and with pockets and shoes that cover your feet. I mean, like practical things that made it more realistic as a projection into the future than science fiction, in my opinion.
Right.
Well, I wanted to bring something up. I paused it.
Hang on, Gary. Can I just make a comment?
Yeah,
I have fire alarm going off here, so I'm going to have to go find out what that is. I'll return shortly. Okay.
No problem, buddy.
Sorry.
No problem.
Sorry.
No. Don't worry about it.
I had to listen to
All right.
Vicki. I had to finish listening. I'll be right back, guys.
That might be mine. That might be mine. By the way, I have my own idea of how you do.
I want to fucking say something here, buddy.
Okay.
Hold on. I paused this video for a reason, because this was one of my logic problems right at the beginning of the film, is that it says the Nexus 6 replicants were superior in strength and agility and at least as equal in intelligence to their creators. And I'm like, who would fucking do that? No one. Like, you don't want super intelligent, powerful beings. That was the only thing that bothered me with the whole opening scene. And then later, Deckard, who is a fucking retired Blade Runner, delivers this line, but why would they want to come to Earth? I don't get it. And I'm like, you of all people should know the answer to that, because you're a retired former killer of these things that kept coming to Earth. There were so many things in the film that annoyed me like that, little things. And I often wondered, was there like something to explain that later? It never was. It was never there. It's just you accept it and you go,
Gary?
well, that's in there.
I always took it as he was asking for us.
Gary?
He was asking the question for us.
Not yet, at least. The thing is, Gary, we are trying to make a super intelligent AI. So
I'm not. I would never do that.
I'm talking about this as a species. There are groups that are hell-bent in getting that. So I wouldn't use that as a critic to the film anymore, because
this is another one that's really neat, and I wanted to talk to Marc about this. I'll try to remember it later. That this is supposed to be Holden's eye, but it's actually not Holden, because that's why you see him. No, it is supposed to be Holden, but it's not his eye. And this is something Ridley did a few times. Like when you see uh, uh, the eye during the Voight Kampf test with Rachel, the eye in the camera is not hers, it's not even the same color, nor is this one. This is not the same color as Morgan Paul. And I don't know, Vicki, did I ever tell you I was close friends with Morgan for years?
No, you didn't.
And his family. I'm friends with his daughters. They're great. And but well, I'll tell you this: back in the '90s, you did not early '90s. You didn't take a phone call from Morgan after 1:00 in the afternoon because he was going to be shit drunk. And we're on a conference call. It was Gary Willoughby and me. We were the two that ran Blade Zone, and we're sitting there. And he goes, "Now, here's what I want to do, guys. If you're going to get this convention together, I want you guys to get me and Joanna Cassidy alone because I've been wanting to fuck her since 1979." And I'm like, "Look, man, I don't mind being your wingman, but I'm not. No, that's like prostitution. I'm not doing that." And I told Joanna
I'm
about
not your
that
pimp.
too.
I'm not your
I'm not
pimp.
your pimp, man. And I told Joanna about that, and she laughed. I told her after he died, I wouldn't do it while he was alive, and she just laughed her butt off at that story. But anyway, I love this shot of the eye because it establishes right off the beginning of the film the eye motif within the film, because you have several motifs that Ridley uses and used it well. Is now he doesn't show the kipple in this. Instead, you see this ugly, brutal, industrial shit going on in the background,
Right.
which is actually also where the kipple is, which they talk about in the second Blade Runner film. Which I was glad they actually did that. They showed what kipple looked like. It's all the debris and broken shit. And man, I'm so sorry Marc's not here right now because that fucking prop is like one of my favorite props ever built. Is the pyramid. I just fucking love that thing. And it was destroyed by fire. And but we got some great images. But the problem was all the images had to be reused over and over again because it got destroyed when I don't know if it was a light or what, got hot in there and it set on fire. And all the metal melted. There he is. This is where you get to see him shooting with the black hole gun. I always like this scene a lot. Holden showing how a Blade Runner goes about their business, and I like that. But I wanted to talk to you, Marc. What was the full story behind? Do you know the full story about the pyramid's destruction while they were shooting and it burned up?
I don't actually. I know there was a fire. And I don't remember the details. Actually, because I've seen, like, Doug does a presentation, or did, unfortunately, behind the scenes on Close Encounters, behind the scenes on 2001, and I have those presentations on my machine here. I have, I'm in the one now. This is behind the scenes on Silent Running, but there's no behind the scenes on Blade Runner that I was able to get from him, and
that's sad because he did he saved that movie.
He did. He was talking. He's told me about the models and stuff, and by that point, he was kind of more instructing the model shops and not creating them himself. And when he found out that I was a model maker, I did a NPR show on UFOs, and I'm very science oriented about them. And then so the host said, "Oh, I got to hook you up with Douglas Trumbull. He's also a UFO hunter." I went, "Really? I didn't even know that." So I contacted him, and I wrote him an email, short paragraphs. "Oh, I hear you this. I'm the chief photo and video analyst, blah, 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 blah." And he wrote me back a 1-page response right away and said, "You got to come up here." And I'm like, "Oh, Douglas Trumbull. Oh my God, you're actually going to meet this guy?" I was trembling. And I was like, "Hi, Mr. Trumbull." I was shaking like that. It was like crazy. So it was a very, very nerve-wracking. Then after 10 years of working with him, he was like a grandfather. Every time I see him, big hug, and he came to see me after I had surgery. He hung out at the house here with me for a while. And it was just, so going back to your original question, okay, we talked about a lot of things. And we talked about Blade Runner. We talked about Close Encounters. And he had less to say about Blade Runner, although in his office up at his house in Massachusetts, he's got the building there in his library. The building's in the library over in the corner, which is kind of cool, you know. And that's really kind of neat to see that sitting there. And I'm like, wow, this was on camera. I remember this. He goes, oh yeah, just a piece of junk. Okay.
That's a piece of junk. My God.
I saw, he has pieces of the silent running ships there, the Valley Forge. Okay. One of the domes with all the intricate wiring he did, you know, to
the space
wire.
greenhouse.
Exactly. That's what it was. Yeah. He's got that there. He's got a climate controlled storage facility in the basement of his office area, which I've been in a lot. He's got a lot of his camera gear and patented stuff in there. But he also has set pieces that he had to keep climate controlled. And it's like walking in there is like walking into a museum. It's like, wow, I want to touch it. You know?
Yeah.
It's just so cool. You know? But Blade Runner, he didn't talk a lot about Blade Runner. He didn't even have a behind the scenes presentation on it. I have all the ones he did. I have Close Encounters.
And I wonder if that's because what he did, his was like what he had to do was salvage this movie, because they originally had another effects company.
Yeah.
And the problem they had was with some of the test shots is the spinners looked like flying bricks.
Yeah.
They weren't alive. They needed something. And so what he did when he came in, from my full understanding of everything I've read, is that he brought in the same techniques that he used on Close Encounters. He didn't invent anything new or do something that was overly challenging. He just used these techniques that he used in Close Encounters back in '77.
Which included a lot of intricate lighting.
The lighting is what's incredible.
Yeah,
because
he intricate. That was it. Yeah,
he used atmosphere around his miniatures.
He was very good at that.
If you watch real closely on the original print of the film, you can see some of the black matting lines around the vehicles. Very small though; they're noticeable. But when Charlie did the final cut, he went in and was able to go back to those original effect shots and clean them up to where the matte lines were gone. So when you see the final cut, that is the single best looking version of Blade Runner you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
And like this shot here is just so clean when you watch it on his version. By the way, as big a fan as I am, I've been to every single location in the movie, including this station there in LA.
Not you.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm like, if I had a cult I followed, it would be Blade Runner. I fucking love this movie so much.
Do you dress up as Decker for Halloween?
I never did. I've never been a cosplay.
Oh, I just gave me the idea. Sorry, guys.
No, I won't do it. I swear. I did cosplay once in the Army, and I got a Starfleet uniform from third season of Star Trek. Okay. And I went, I was allowed to, I had 2 weeks where I was able to be on leave so I could have a beard. So I grew a slight beard, and I went as Riker. And it was fun. That was the only time I've ever cosplayed in my entire life. And but this film, here's another motif. Photographs, huge motif on old photos, family photos, and they're all over the place. Animal photos, like on his lamp, that's a real lamp. I don't know who they either paid for it or they rented it or something, but it has killed animals. It's Congo hunting pictures, guys out on the savannah killing animals, and you've got these fucking things all over the place in this movie. Deckard's apartment is littered with sculptures, including, the mock-ups of the tiles from the Frank Lloyd Wright Ennis Brown house. They got permission to copy those bricks and then put them on the set there in where did they shoot that at? I forget which studio that was. Vicki.
Warner Brothers
studio.
It's actually technically at the time, Warner Brothers and Columbia shared a studio, and it was called TBS, the Burbank Studio. Warner Brothers was in one section and Columbia was in another section. And then in 1985, 84, 85, Columbia moved and Warner Brothers took the rest of the studio over.
Oh, how about
So,
that?
But it's Warner Brothers studio now. And one of the things that also makes this so different is a lot of the practical special effects. That the spinner was a prop that they got into, and it flew 30 feet up in the air, and it had the exhaust stuff come out of it. That the lights from the blimp were always coming through. You could always see them coming through. The rain, the fucking rain, excuse me, and the smoke. There was smoke everywhere. Inside, outside, upside, downside.
Well,
There
that's
was
the thing
always
with
smoke.
Ridley is he likes to create physical atmosphere in his
Yes.
shots, include at the detriment of the health of his casting crew.
Yes.
And because I've read many a time that, I mean, John Carpenter does the same shit, but not to the degree Ridley does. Ridley, like when he did Legend, he had shit floating in the fucking air. All the
and
time.
that's the thing is that to an extent, like if you're doing an interior and you want atmosphere, you smoke it up, but you have to wait until it gets to a certain point of dissipation so that when the actors walk through, there's not this
movement of the air.
the movement of the air.
Yeah.
But when you're outside, I mean, like outside, inside, I mean, like there was never, ever, ever a time when it was not smoky. Now, the times when it was not raining was when the special effects came to film because they needed it clean, and they would add the rain in post. So we were always very happy when the special effects, the visual effects crew came to film because it meant that we were not going to get soaked.
I like that.
And
By the way,
we were very, very happy. Oh, they're coming tomorrow! Yay! And everybody's like, "Oh, do you like them or something?"
A dry day.
Exactly. And then you just have to wet down the street so that the street is wet because they're going to add rain. But we didn't have to have it at the time. Somebody just asked about the rain, and I said, rain has to be backlit for you to see it.
That's
so
right.
It needs to be bigger so that it has more surface for you to see.
And the camera has to pick it up.
And the camera has to pick it up. So the rain birds and the rain towers, etc., these are coin-sized rain. This is not like a little tiny. It may look like a little tiny from afar, but it's not. And so in 2 seconds, or not two, in a minute, you can get soaked to the bone if you're standing underneath here. So fortunately for the extras and stuff, they had umbrellas and they had, all they're in cars, etc. But for the crew, we were getting wet.
I believe it. We had we had the same problem when we were filming a Super Bowl commercial for the iPad Pro, and we were using liquid nitrogen, and we were creating streamers. And the camera was down below, a phantom camera down below, shooting at 1,200 frames per second, and this stuff would come raining down right at the camera, and it looked like you're traveling through a warp conduit, right? And so what happens is we went through full-size dewars, the containers of liquid nitrogen. They're like 5.5 feet tall, and they're about 30 inches in diameter. And the contents are slightly less for liquid nitrogen, but we went through a number of those doors. And one of the problems we ran into, because we're going through so much of it, now we have a big studio with a giant green screen. We got to be there. But the problem we had is that the nitrogen content in the air got so high that people were like having to go outside to get get their dizziness, let it go away. And that's something that we had to fight all the time. And we had people in the rafters too that were up there. So that was a problem. My son was actually one of them that was running liquid nitrogen up there for Doug. And it was tough because as soon as that stuff vaporized, it went to nitrogen and replaced the oxygen, or just displaced it. There was still oxygen, but it was displaced, and there was too much nitrogen in the atmosphere. So it was crazy. So I guess similar problem, but a different approach, right?
Right. Well, we had also when they go to see Hannibal Chew, and it was in a meat packing facility.
Yeah.
In the back of a meat packing facility, where they went in every day and they put water on and had those were real, all icicles, etc. And they had ski suits at the entrance that you would put on, and then you'd go in and you'd do your work. But people had to keep coming out because, once again, you've got lights, you've got all of these things that are burning up the oxygen, and people have to keep going out. Unfortunately, Jordan Cronenweth, who was not physically well at the time, sitting there, ended up getting to the point where he couldn't move. And they had to pick him up.
His son was there, wasn't he, to help?
Huh?
Wasn't his son there also to help?
Not all the time. Sometimes.
I read that he did try
and they
to
had
help
to
him.
pick him up and take him outside to warm him up so that he could then go back inside.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Or catatonia. I don't know.
Well, no, you don't realize
he had MS, right? Wasn't that MS that he suffered from?
Yes, but they thought it was Parkinson's. So they were treating him for Parkinson's, but he did not have Parkinson's.
He had MS, yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I mean, he was majorly in the throes of it was very strange because it was very hard for him to walk, but he could run. So if he said, I have to go to the bathroom, he would say, I'll go to the bathroom. And then he would run out of the stage, go do, and then when he'd run back in, he'd stop a little before he had to stop. And then he would, like a marionette, walk back to wherever he was. He had to climb up we always had 2 cameras. When Zora goes through the thing, we had 6 or 8 cameras. He had to go up on each one, check, see. It was physically very, very demanding. And he looked like an athlete. And apparently he used to play tennis on the weekends. So he could get around, but only in certain circumstances. And shooting this movie was not one of them.
He could fucking run?
Yes. Run.
Well, he probably figured out the balance.
He couldn't walk, but he could run. So something about his musculature could go at a pace, and he would run off the stage, and then he'd run back on, and then he'd stop, and then he looked like Thunderbirds. He looked like somebody had a
super marionation.
Yeah, super marionation, because you don't see the strings, but you see him walking the way he would walk. And so the fact that he had been sitting inside, he was sitting down. It wasn't that he was doing anything, but when he went to move, he couldn't move at all. and they had to pick him up and take him out.
Wow.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But I just always liked his, and he apparently really got along with Ridley, because Ridley is, you know how he is. You worked with him. That he is all up in the shot, and usually getting into the territory of stepping all over the DP.
Oh yes.
But Cronenworth seemed to be able to work with him because I guess they spoke the same language or something. What do you think that was?
Yeah, I think that at the day, so we're making a movie that literally has never been made before, and movies have been around now for 80 years. It's 1980, 1981. They're going to make this movie, and in the 100 years that they've been making movies, they're not making one like that. So at the beginning of the production, we went through a lot of crew, because there's the people who said, well, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this job. And I don't think that that's a good idea. I don't see how that's going to work. And those people were let go. And the people who said, let's try it. Let's do it. Let's see how this works, are the ones who stayed. And so I believe that Jordan was one that said, let's open this up. Let's see where we can take this. Nothing was a bad idea, even though they could not communicate very well, because Ridley is not a good communicator, especially at that point.
Yeah, because he was still recovering from the death of his brother at
Yes.
the time. So I understand, yeah.
And he had just done Alien that had 8 people in it, as opposed to hundreds of people on a set, outside, in the rain, or whatever. There was much more control over Alien than this. And so for him, it was, like one time we were in Deckard's apartment, and they said, we're bringing in a laser disc. Never heard of a laser disc before, didn't know what it was. And so they put it in, they have the disc, they put the disc in, and we start watching some movie while I'm setting up with them. And Ridley comes in and says, no, I don't want it to do that. Sets it on its side and puts it on kind of repeat. So you don't see anything. You just see lights. And he's like, yeah, that's what I want. So those people who went, that's odd, they didn't stay long. And the people who thought, that's odd, let's try that, stayed with the show.
That's
cool.
Crazy. Yeah.
I hate to keep saying this, but that brings up parallels with how Doug ran the studio for Trumbull Studios. And he would often, we called it a skunk works up there, because no idea was off the table. I never met someone with an Academy Award that would be willing to listen to me. Okay? He was willing to listen to you, and he loved your thoughts. In fact, he actually included one of my shots in a movie we were doing about Nikola Tesla. And I was like, wow, really? And that really freaked me out. I didn't expect anyone to do that. But he was a very collaborative person and loved listening to all the new ideas. He got along very well with people that were in their 20s and 30s. I was not. I was in my 40s and 50s when we worked together. So, but still, I was a professional astronomer, a science guy, and he always wanted to do astronomy. And so we connected on that, plus the search for extraterrestrial life, right? So I got all these photos of the behind the scenes, and Doug's always going and saying things like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? He didn't come in and say, this is what I want, okay? Or, I mean, he did that sometimes, okay? But he would also say, what do you think of this? I'm like, me? You're the guy who knows what you're doing, right? You go, no, but what do you think? And I learned an awful lot from him over the years. And
I think a lot of people who are very, very talented and creative, they are willing to listen. They may not go with it, but they're willing to listen to it. When I did Dragnet, Tom was the first time director. He'd been Mankiewicz. He from the Mankiewicz family, and he had been a writer, and now he's going to direct this movie. And it's a big, huge movie, big, medium budget, and Terry Leonard is the stunt coordinator, who's one of the...
And he's Harrison Ford's body double for the bathroom scene.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that's not Ford in that scene.
And so when they're working together, then Terry would say, I mean, there's a lot of stunts. And he'd go, what about this? And if Tom would listen, and then if he thought maybe that's a little over the top, he would say, we're going to do that in our next movie. So he never squashed anything. He never said that was a bad idea. He never discouraged anybody from coming up with an idea. And I think that that's what made that film as successful as it was, considering he was a first-time director. That the directors that I've worked with that I've particularly loved have been open to having the dolly grip say, well, what if we put the camera over there and then that will solve that problem. And you don't go, you're the dolly grip, I'm not going to listen to you. They say, no, that does solve that problem. Thank you very much. And let me use that. And the ones that are not so successful, they believe that if they use your idea, there'll be a little chyron on the bottom of the frame that says, this shot was thought up by Vicki Rhodes. and they're not going to get credit for it. And you go, that doesn't happen. I'm not here to take anything away from you. I'm here to help you. Mm. But there's those people who they're so insecure that they don't want to hear anybody else's idea because they feel like, okay, now I'm not the boss. So you have somebody like Ridley, who's obviously, this is his third movie. He's into, let's do something that has never been done before. And he's very confident about what he sees in his head, about pictures that he has seen, that he has projected, and now he just has to tell everybody else how to capture what he sees in his head.
Yeah.
That must be an experience, but it's kind of funny. Both of you have gotten to work closely with a genius at their form. Now, my thing with the director in the Scotts is Tony Scott for me is the real director. Ridley had a problem with communication, which makes him a bad director. He also doesn't understand a map when it comes to storytelling. And it annoys me because I love his fucking movies, but I'll get so frustrated with his direction. I'm like, what are you doing? Because he does this, and you know this, that he'll get an idea that has nothing to do with their fucking movie. You know what would really be neat if we do this? And I loved one story where one of the producers said, yeah, but that's going to completely derail what you're about to do. And he goes, you're right. Forget what I said. And I'm like, oh my God, Ridley does that on sets. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine working with someone like that. It would drive me nuts because I'm OCD, but I have some banners here and I wanted to get into some of them. One, what was it like working with Rutger Hauer? Because I know everybody in the chat, there were quite a few that have talked about Rutger, and I got to be friends with him before he died, and I've been friends with him for over 20 years, and he was one of the sweetest fucking men I've ever met. But he's also really fucking weird. And the first time I ever talked to him was on the phone, and he's sitting there talking to me about something in this other film, because we were talking about a couple of other movies. And he goes, well, when we did this scene, we would go and we would, and I'm sitting there going, did he just burp in my fucking ear? And a few minutes went by, and he does it again, and he just kept going. And I joked later with him. I said, I'm sorry, I got this image of you in a pair of boxers and a fucking wife beater shirt with your hand down in your underwear, the way you were talking to burping. Great sense of humor on that guy. And but one of our audience pointed out, who was that, Martin? That his character, Roy Batty, and Rutger himself died in 2019.
I think it was Sander.
Yes. It was Sander. It was Sander. That's a great comment. Also, any comments on that shit that we haven't heard before that you would like to say? The governor T-shirts and his response back to him, xenophobia. You remember much of that shit?
Oh yeah. The Rutger Hauer first is this was his first American movie. For his first American movie, it wasn't exactly like any other American movie that you've ever seen in life. So
that example of what he's going to be getting later.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, okay, this is interesting, but for 90% of the movie, he has no scenes with Harrison. They are antagonists, but they don't have any scenes together. He doesn't have any scenes until Harrison comes to
which is the last thing they shot.
Which is the last thing that we shot. So they were always never there at the same time. And I found Rutger very sweet, very lovely man, very tall. I'm 5'4", so like a foot taller than me. And he was just like very curious about.
Just so you know, Vicki, before you continue, there's one person shorter than you, and there she is.
I have a picture of me on the set where two guys are 6'4", and they're talking over my head. They're on either side of me, and they're talking over my head, proving how short I am.
And you're asking him how the weather is
I have
up
a
there?
photo with Gary. I have a photo with Gary and a couple of friends, and I look like a child next to them.
She's like, her head comes up to the bottom of my man boob. It's like, it's funny. She's so tiny.
And so Rutger was very watchful. He was very observant. He didn't say a lot. He was a big person, but not a big personality. It was kind of like at one point, I think we had this conversation and I said, sometimes you have scenes over here and you have the scenes over there. And I said, and the big scene, at the end. And he said, yeah, my big scene is at the end. So I'm kind of holding back until I get to that point, because that's where the movie becomes the dynamic of what the whole movie's about. And so for him, it was very philosophical, that who he was, what he had done in his 4 years, how he had gotten this group together to come back to try to get more life, that he had done studies so that when he's in the scene with Tyrell and he says, what about this? What about this? What about this? That will extend our life. And for Tyrell to say, no, we tried that and it didn't work. No, we tried that and it didn't work. No, we tried that. So to show his intelligence as well, that he wasn't just some lunkhead who ran around hitting things, that he was charismatic enough to get these four completely disparate people, Zora and Pris and Leon and himself. Those are four completely different personalities to get together to come and try to extend their life so that what they had experienced doesn't disappear. And so I found him to be very quiet, very watchful, very philosophical, very observant. And every once in a while I would like catch him watching me and I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? And he'd just smile. Like whatever it was that I did, he was like putting that away. He was putting, oh, this is what this person does. Oh, this is what this person does. Oh, this is what, very watchful. So I loved working with him. And I loved the fact that he didn't waste time or energy or how come I'm not getting more attention or scenes or something, because it's like, no, it's all about the end of the movie. It's all about the end of the movie. And that's the whole thing. That's why I'm going to save all of my energy. No one's going to know everything that I can do until the end of the movie. Which, because we shot it kind of in order, the end of the movie was the end of the movie.
Yep. You're literally seconds away from having to evacuate the stage because they needed to move on to the next project. So there was a lot of people from Warner, as I recall, in the studio on that set, making sure they got the hell out of there. And you were there for that shot, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the shot started outside on a roof on the back lot. And then the sun came up. Well, the sun is not supposed to come up during that scene. The sun is supposed to still be gone. And so Ridley turns to Larry Paul and David Snyder, and he says, I need more time. Talk about replicants. I need more time. And, the sun is up. There's nothing we can do about that. And so they said, maybe we can move the set onto one of our stages. We can move enough stuff off of one of the stages that we can move this. And that's what they did for the next 3 or 4 hours, was move the set from the top of a 3-story building onto stage. Had to bring all the rain, had to bring everything had to match. You couldn't suddenly be in a different place. And then they shot the bird flying away or trying to fly away.
Which was a clear sky, by the way, a blue sky. Charlie fixed that later on the final cut, putting
because
it in the
it was
set.
Summertime in Los Angeles. So of course
the sky's gray,
which apparently the weather did not read the script and know that it was not supposed to be like that. And so I mean, like we didn't have we actually went to McDonald's and got breakfast for people because we were not stopping. We got everything. Harrison got in the water. And then they said, okay, we're going to do some, we have to move the lights around. And he goes, I'm not moving. I'm completely soaking wet and I'm fine. So I'm just going to sit here. Because we're like, well, don't you want to get up and like dry off? He's like, nah, that's okay. And so we did the last of the movie was the last of the movie. And for me personally, because I had come on the day before for second unit and then both units and then first unit, I worked 27 and a half hours on that last day.
Wow.
That's the longest I have ever been on payroll for at one stretch. But it was when we said wrap, that was it. That's why we couldn't stop. We couldn't say, oh, the lights the sun's come up, let's go tomorrow. No, there was no tomorrow. We had to wrap that day. So if we had to wrap that day and we weren't wrapped, then we had to keep continuing that day.
You were there when it happened, and I am curious how that felt, because that's a historical moment when Rutger had 2 pages of dialogue that just was insane. You can't do this for his, soliloquy that he was going to deliver at the end. And so he went into his trailer and
he rewrote it.
Basically, he took the best parts out in there, he truncated a lot. And the one thing he personally added that is from him is the tears and rain line. Because
that became the iconic part of the speech.
It's one of the most remembered lines, not the most, but it is one of the most remembered lines in cinema history.
It's known as the Tears in the Rain speech.
Yeah. Which I can recite it, but I'm not going to do it. But he does say something in there, though, Mark, that I've discussed and debated with people over the years, which is when he says, I've seen C-beams glitter near the Tannhauser Gate.
SEA or the letter C?
But it's the letter C. And I keep telling people, he's not saying that they're like laser beams that look like C's or something.
No.
It's from classic science fiction paintings of images of rocket ships that have been destroyed, and they're round, and they have C beams inside them that hold the shape of the ship. And he's describing the sight of seeing that in space, these things that are so superheated, they're glowing in the dark of space.
Oh, yeah. What about Tannhauser Gate? Come on, let's hear it.
We don't know where the fuck that was supposed to be. It's like, I'm like, because I've always been troubled by that. Like, where is that? Because that's a star. I don't understand
Off the shoulder of Orion. Hello. Duh.
Yeah, off the shoulder of Orion, Okay, here's the shot right here. This one right here is where he looks up and his eyes glow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that's your rule that you're creating, then Holden is also a replicant because his eyes glow when he's looking at Leon. By the way, this is one of the most beautiful sets I've ever seen.
Yeah. So when we go onto the set, and I'm like looking at the walls and I'm thinking, oh my God, like where did this come from? And that's so bizarre and that's so wonderful. And I go up to Larry Paul and David Snyder and I go, oh my God, like where did you come up with this idea? And they look at me and they go, have you heard of Frank Lloyd Wright?
Yep, the Innes Brown house, which you guys did shoot 2 shots, the going in the gate and the parking was at the actual Innes Brown house. But then they replicated that as his set in this giant fucking skyscraper apartment complex. It's like they took the Innes Brown house and just stacked it on itself over and over and over and over again. That's fucking brilliant.
So there actually was one more shot of him running into the first floor from getting out of the car and running in, but they didn't put that in. From shooting at the Innes Brown house. So they just laughed. I mean, they're in the middle of Ridleyville. And I'm standing there going, wow, this is really cool. And they're like, yeah, we didn't invent this. This is Frank Lloyd Wright. And we this is not them copying us. This is us copying them.
Copying them. And you were one of the few people that was given the right to use the tiles in the film.
Yes.
And I don't know if that was paid for or what, but other films have done it. And I think it was theft. I don't think they used permission. But I know that I can't remember. Was it Paul? So it might have been Paul that went out there and got permission from them to use the tiles or replicate the tiles.
And because I think it was such a futuristic thing, and they felt like that's what Frank Lloyd Wright was trying to make it, was futuristic, that made sense. And that they were reusing the Bradbury building, which is also supposedly a little futuristic with...
Oh, it is, with the Incan style tiles. It's just brilliant.
That all of their research that they did was that there's kind of this 40-year span, and then things repeat. And so they said, if this is taking place 40 years in the future, let's go 40 years in the past and use some of the costumes and some of the information that we have from the 1940s in the 1980s to predict the 2019s.
So I do want to get into this. I pause you for just a second because Anima had a question for you about Sean Young and the piano.
Yep. Is she playing the piano? Are these her hands, what we see?
Yes. She learned how.
I was hoping.
She before production, they have her have some piano lessons, and so she would practice, and those are actually her hands playing the piano.
I love it. I love when actors are dedicated like that.
Yes. Is that she wanted to make sure that she looked like she was doing it, and that it was also a memory that, like, this.
Yeah, I can't remember if I could play or if it's Tyrell's niece.
Right.
Okay, here's another question that
she
comes
remembers
out.
Lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, she remembers lessons.
There is an episode of Night Stalker called Mr. Ring.
Kolchak.
Yeah, Kolchak, man. And I just introduced my fiance. She fucking loves those movies in the show.
Oh, yeah.
She's having a blast. She has not gotten to this episode yet, but it's one I wanted to see if you have any statement to make about this. Is that Mr. Ring has a gentleman that runs this robotics company that creates an AI robot that's beginning to become self-aware. And his name is Tyrell. Yeah, you know anything about that with Hampton Fancher? That if he took that from that show, because it's such a weird thing that it's not just the name, but the fact that he's creating.
Too coincidental.
Yeah, it's almost too coincidental.
Maybe
right.
And I've never had a chance to
establish
ask
a history, maybe.
So when a script comes out, every name in the entire script is researched. And particularly if someone has that particular name and that particular job in that particular city, then they say, you have to change the name.
Right.
So all of the names
main one,
you see are...
The main one was the Bradbury building. They said, you can't show the Bradbury building and try to say it's New York. It's not New York. They know it's Los Angeles.
Yes. So in that, I did a movie. My very first movie, the movie I did before this, was Whose Life Is It Anyway?
With Richard Dreyfuss
and John Cassavetes.
That's a great film, by the way, Vicki.
And Bob Balaban plays Richard Dreyfuss's attorney. So we go to Boston and we shoot for 7 days. And when we come back, we have shot some scenes with Bob Balaban introducing himself. And when we get back, they say, oh, by the way, there is somebody that's an attorney that lives in Boston who has that name. And you have to change it. And so we had to go. We obviously couldn't go back to Boston, but we had to change his name after, we'd already started shooting. So Tyrell, so you tend to have unusual names in movies because you don't want it to be John Smith. And now there's 25,000 John Smiths that you have to look up. When I was working on Everybody Hates Chris TV series, they had an episode where the family goes.
Which show was that? Which show?
Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh,
Chris
okay.
Rock.
Yeah, I love that show.
They have the parents are going out for a date night, and they go to for all intents and purposes, a Sizzler, which is a steakhouse, quote unquote. But obviously they can't use the name Sizzler because that's an actual name. And so we had to come up with a new name. So the production designer comes up and he's like, he gets all these names and they send it through and they're like, nope, there's a restaurant called that. Okay, start again. He's starting to get desperate. I mean, like, they have to make signs, they have to make all this stuff. And so he's walking around the office going, anyone who has any ideas, please let me know and let me try. And then if it passes legal, then he can take it to the showrunner and the showrunner can decide which one. So I made a suggestion. He wrote it down. It went through legal and the showrunner actually picked it. And so it was called Pastures and Shores. And Pastures and Shores from that moment became a running location in many, many episodes because I just kept thinking, well, surf and turf.
Surf and turf, that's what I'm thinking.
But you can't say surf and turf because that's obviously, so I'm like Pastures and Shores. And that worked. So it's like, because it's not a great title, but it gives you the idea that it's kind of like a Sizzler steakhouse.
It's just like surf and turf to me.
Surf and turf. That this would be their special time that they would go out, and so that's the kind of thing. So the fact that his name is Tyrell, anything's possible. But
in the book it was Rosen
that he did that.
In the book, it was Rosen, and which, of course, makes me think of what we talked about earlier, Mark. But I thought it was interesting that they didn't want Rosen because I think it's because they were concerned that it would sound too Jewish. And so they picked something like Tyrell that's, you don't even know what that belongs to. Is that English? Is it German? I don't know.
Exactly.
And it's a good name. I think it's a better name than Rosen. And but you guys kept so much stuff in here. Like you actually have Ursat cigarettes right out of the book. That's not real tobacco they're supposed to be smoking, which is why the cigarettes look so weird.
It was herbal cigarettes.
Yeah, they're herbal stuff, if I recall. Herbal, like.
Here it is.
Which
Which
smells like marijuana, but it's not.
It always smells fruity to me when I've been around it on stage because a lot of the actors I've worked with over the years don't smoke. So they'll use herbal on stage. But I wanted to talk about this right here. This scene, Mark, is one of my favorite moments in the film. First, I love every establishing shot that was done of the pyramid. And because it was destroyed halfway through production of shooting the effect shots, they were stuck showing that from different angles by flipping it and stuff like that in order to make it like it's a new shot. Because once it was gone, it was gone. They couldn't replace the pyramid. But the close-ups are so intricate that I just like, how did he do that? That doesn't look like a miniature. you watch Japanese and British productions with miniatures; they look like miniatures.
Well, they're terrible.
Yeah, but you look at this.
No, see, but
and-
that's the thing. When you're shooting a miniature, obviously you want to make sure your depth of field is max. You know,
Right.
maximum depth of field is how you're going to make it look real. Okay, otherwise it's going to look like a tilt shift thing where you can make your full size Jeep in your driveway look like a toy if you photograph it, using a tilt shift approach, right? Where you have some blur planes above and below it. Well, as far as making it real, you just need a camera that's going to be small and ride on a stalk, computer controlled. We did this actually at the studio. We did that a lot. And you actually, with the maximum depth of field, even the thing that's close to you is in focus and the things far away are in focus. So that makes it look like what you'd see with your eye or a regular camera if you're looking at a helicopter with a camera. I mean, so it makes it real. And to get full depth of field, you got to have a lot of light. So the set was probably lit pretty brightly so they could get a full depth of field, but it wouldn't come across that way once it was in the can, because and we did that too, where you had to overlight something to get it to come down to normal in the camera. So it didn't look anything like it looked on film. When you're shooting it, it looks very, very different. And so with that, it was probably a very brightly lit scene and a very slow moving camera moving through frame by frame, ka-ching, 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 and that's probably how they did that. That's my guess, if it was all in complete focus.
It seems to me, from what I've seen, that it was also bigger than your miniature of Godzilla.
What we love to lovingly refer to as giant miniatures.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, they
giant
had to be
miniatures like Peter Jackson used in Lord of the Rings is that they're not 3 feet tall, they're 6 feet tall. Yeah, but they're not 30 feet tall.
Yeah, the reason for that, in my experience, is that when you finish them with paint, there's an inevitable texture that you get on your finished miniature that can telegraph its size. And so that's something you had to be wary of. All right. We know that water doesn't scale, so you can't create ships running through the water and have it look real if the models are like 3 feet long. If the model is 30 feet long, you have a better chance of making it look a little more realistic, just like Vicki was talking about. So in all likelihood, the sets were large, so they could, get the finish to look like a real finish. And that's part of the problem. Fabrication capability back then was a little bit different. Like, I have a laser cutter in my shop. Okay. I have 3D prototypers all around me here. So, I mean, they didn't have that. So they had rudimentary capabilities back then to do that, but everything had to be sculpted and made with existing materials. So it also had to be put together in such a way that you didn't see glue joints. You didn't see, fake rivets. We used to use glue dots, very, very carefully placed glue dots to make rivets when shot in a practical effect way. And so that's the thing that I thought was cool, because I've done that all my life. Ever since I was a child, I was making movies with an 8mm camera, and they were always space movies, and
they're fun to do.
They always had to be realistic. I didn't like fakery. Right, that Doug was offered Star Wars and he turned it down. George Lucas asked him if he wanted to do Star Wars. And he goes, "Nah, I'm sorry,
What was
George."
his reason?
He didn't like his universe. He said, "I didn't like the universe." Okay, you want these ships to fly through space, as they go by. You wouldn't hear sound in space. Okay, that's why he was very, very, very clear about not liking the universe where sound acts differently and where other things act differently, and stuff like that. So we've gone so far as to say, well, if something explodes in orbit, and he called me his chief scientist, which is hilarious. He said to me,
"Well, you really fucking know your stuff, buddy. I'm just telling you.
I'm just.
That's why I like talking to you, because you know so much shit."
No, I'm just a guy. So the thing is, when you have something in space, I think I'm a guy. Yep, I'm a guy.
You're a super nerd.
Oh, I am. That's no doubt, no doubt. But when Doug said to me, "Okay, now if we're gonna have an explosion in space, tell me how it's gonna look," And I explained to him, well, you wouldn't actually see an explosion in space, okay? Because up there, it's just a blast cloud of debris. It's a cloud of debris. There's no flash because there's no oxygen to carry the flash.
Yes, certainly no fire.
Yeah, exactly. So when we had there was a show where there was they were doing a movie up there, and a crew came in from some other production company, and Doug and I were sitting up in the mezzanine, and the crew were all there, their AD and everybody, the producer, and I'm sitting there very quiet because it's not my place to say any comments. I was there as an advisor to Doug scientifically, okay, and the crew unveiled the design of their ship. And I looked at Doug and I went like this. And he's like what? And he goes, tell them. He's hinting, just like going like that. When he goes like this, he's saying, tell them. So I went, excuse me, guys. Your ship design, that won't actually work in a vacuum because they had a barrel, a ship like this. I got video of it here. And then a long stalk and another thing in the end of it that was supposed to go around it and orbit it, and a long stalk of like a steel, gangway. And they had this big ship in the middle, and it was supposed to be just going around that thing. And they said it wouldn't actually do that because in space, all right, there's nothing holding that big thing from moving too. And just like with binary stars, the bigger one moves a little bit, but the little one moves the most. But they'll actually do this. They'll actually go around each other. I said, your ship is just going to do that and go around each other. And because of the torques involved, and they didn't like hearing that word, I said, the ship's going to start turning and rotating. And the art director said to me, well, we've got the design. Thank you very much. And I just shut up. And Doug raised his hand and said, excuse me, if Marc says it's not going to work, it's not going to work. You probably should listen to him. The whole tone of the room changed. Oh, tell us what you think. And so I gave them the new design. I said, it won't cost more. We can make the ships this way. And they loved the idea. That's how it ended up in the final movie. And people that have looked at the movie said, hey, that would actually work. So of course. So I think that, again, Doug, very collaborative. But it comes down to, people have ideas, but they have to be willing to listen to what may or may not work. And so in this case, they were reticent to hear the truth, and Doug set them straight. It was a great, great thing.
God, I wish I had a chance to meet him. I stopped this just for a second for you guys because I want to get a confirmation from you on this, because I know what I read and I know what I was told by Joe Turkel himself, that the original line was father, not fucker. That was something that was done later in ADR to change it to fucker for the movie. When he walks up to him, I want more life. In the original, it was father. Is that true? Because that's what I was told.
It's the opposite.
It was fucker, and then later they added father.
I remember father, actually.
Well, in the theatrical version, he says fucker, the one that got released in the U.S. and in Europe.
Really?
The big difference is the violence. Like when he digs his fingers into his eyes, that was lit red in the American release, that in order to hide all the blood that was gushing out. That was a really cool prop too, that head prop. That was fucking incredible.
That was the makeup guys and the special effects and the makeup guys.
It's incredible stuff because it looked like it really looked like Joe Turkel's face. Now,
he was killed in the movie. You know that.
Yeah. For years, they said Turkel was dead on Internet Movie Database. With Gary Willoughby from Blade Zone, we found him. And I'll tell you one funny thing that happened, and I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me, why I did this. I asked him before we started to do an interview, I said, do you prefer being called Joe or Joseph or Mr. Turkel? And he says, I'm good with Mr. Turkel. I went, okay, Joe. And to God, I fucking did that. Gary. I don't know why I did that. And I thought of it because I'm sitting there trying to ask these questions. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you do that?
That's why you only got one.
You're a jerk.
And
That's why you only got one interview.
No, I talked to him quite a few times. We became
Okay.
Gary Willoughby and I became very friendly with Joe. And he's a really nice guy. So Joe Turkel, who played Tyrell, could not memorize lines. So they plastered cue cards all over the place. It's like a Marlon Brando all over again for him. And when you see eye movement with him, it's not just acting, it is also to find the next cue card that he has to go to. And that's what was written by my good buddy Paul in the Making of Blade Runner. I've also heard it's from Joe. And now you were there. Is that as true as they said?
No.
Not as true. He did
No.
memorize some lines.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a
Both
lot
them
of
full
the
shit.
technical things that
He would write down, like when he had to talk about different types of genetics and how the body works and how the function of that leads to another infection, and the subject is dead before he gets off the table. You know,
Yes.
it's like, yeah, I get you. So that's what it was for. But I got it from both of them.
Yeah, well,
about
I
that.
mean, some of his speeches were long, and he was supposed to say all of that. But when going back to Whose Life Is It Anyway, John Cassavetes is somebody who was always improvising everything, and this was a play. He couldn't improvise, and at one point he says, "We need to get an intramuscular shot to Richard Dreyfuss." That's the line. But intramuscular is not something that you hear a lot. Intravenous, you hear a lot. So he would say, we need to get him an intravenous shot. Well, if they gave him an intravenous shot of whatever they were going to give it to him, they were going to probably kill him.
Yeah.
So we had to keep saying, no, you have to say intramuscular. And it was killing him because
in the bane of his existence,
he got to that, he just always said intravenous, and he was just so frustrated. And so it's the same thing, is especially if what you have is at the end of a long speech, and then suddenly you realize I've memorized all of that, and now I've come to this point where I don't know where that is, what that is. The other person on the other movie that had to write some stuff down was Dan Aykroyd in Dragnet. Because he had speeches that were so fast. He was saying like a ton of stuff, and he had to be able to say it really, really, really fast. And
I bet that Jack did the same thing, because he delivered a lot of lines like that on the show.
And so we would write out what and so it wasn't, I probably 5 or 6 times in the whole movie, but it was very important for him to be able to have that Jack Webb delivery.
If you ever watch it, because he's got a pattern the way he speaks, it's very moving. It's a machine, very mechanical. And he will deliver like long lines. But one of my favorites is where it's the marijuana episode where he's talking to some punk off the street, giving him a lecture about, let me tell you something about marijuana, what that causes on the street. And it's like, he's just fucking rattling it out. And I'm like, he has to be using a cue card. Like nobody can humanly remember that kind of dialogue and deliver it that quickly. One last thing I want to get a confirmation on. Well, I should confirm. I'm going to confirm it for you. I know that the glasses he's wearing here went missing and they never could find them. And I happen to know, he showed me and he admitted it, that he stole them. He liked them so much because they were prescription.
Well, eventually they're not prescription. They're not prescription. They're prescription.
Yeah. It's the center part. That's prescription. And I just love that he freely admitted that to me and showed them to me. And he had them until he died. And I just thought that was funny as hell. I'm like, you didn't tell anybody? Nope.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I like Joe Turkel. I thought he was a sweetheart. Before
he only
died,
just died.
not that long ago.
Yeah,
He and
22 or
Joanna would hang out with Gary Willoughby because Gary lives in Los Angeles. He'd meet them, pick them up, and he would take them to the con. And so you had Joanna Cassidy and fucking Joe Turkel just sitting there yammering with my friend Gary. And that's the one thing I don't like about my building and creating the fan club. I hate Los Angeles with a passion. I've been there, but I went there and I fucking left. And I've never got to personally meet any of the cast. My relationships with them has been through either email or phone or video chat. And I just they're like, because I got invited, by the way, to the 2019 Blade Runner celebration in Los Angeles as a guest. Well, I didn't go. People are like, why didn't you go? I said, I just don't want to go there. I don't know. I'm an introvert. I don't really like being around people. And it makes me very uncomfortable. What's that, Mark?
Nothing. That was
that was me. You know what the funny part is? Joe Turkel is the only person who's in the movie they used footage of to finish this movie. The Shining. Oh, well, yeah, because
The Shining.
Yeah, it was what's his name? Dealey. Michael Dealey had an association with Kubrick, and he went to Kubrick and requested it, and Kubrick said yes, but only footage that wasn't in the movie in The Shining. They couldn't use any footage that was used or looked like it was similar. And so, yeah, the movie ends with that. But I will tell you, only the happy ending version of Blade Runner is where you get to see that. By the way, the LA tunnel was used twice in this film. And it is the single most filmed tunnel in the world in film, movie making. And I always thought that was
to drive through. I mean, when you drive through, that's what it looks like. And you're like, wow.
And it's right around the corner from the
Bradbury.
Yeah. And it leads you into what used to be the Mexican side of Los Angeles. And it's a beautiful tile in there. And it's been used in so many freaking movies. Also, that's not his spinner that he's inside of. That is not his sedan. That is actually, you can tell because it's curved, that is the regular police spinner. But that's all they had to use that day. And I don't know why. But that's the one he sat in. Maybe it was the only one that was working that day.
Yeah.
Lighting-wise. And by the way, Anima wants to compliment the dwarf actor for perfect German.
Well,
yeah.
Excellent.
Tell her what you said, Anima.
Well, it's a pet peeve of mine when they need somebody to speak German and they just teach somebody the words who has no understanding of German language. As a native speaker, you pick it up and it hurts your brain listening to that. So every time a German part is actually spoken by somebody who knows German, who knows what they're saying, I'm just like, yeah, thank you.
What was the line? Something of I remember it ended with like Vesson or some shit like that.
He says something about they left a little something, a little gift. I don't remember everything, but.
And he yells it twice because he's trying to get Deckard's attention, and then they steal what looks like a small air filter system off the top of the car.
Yeah.
I love that because even the cop cars are retrofitted.
There's like, this street gang is going to come and they're going to, clam all over his car and everything. And then I go to meet them and they're all little people. And I thought, didn't see this one coming.
There they are right there.
And
this is so fucking cool.
And there they were, they totally were badasses. The fact that they were short meant nothing to them. They were just running around doing everything they wanted to do.
And being short is not a weakness, okay?
No, being short is not a weakness, and it wasn't for them either. I mean, like, their characters were, this is what we do. This is, we do this all the time. We go in, we get what we can, and which is once again, casting out of your stereotypical, street gang of big, huge, people running around being threatening. I was gonna say.
I always thought they were kind of Jawas. That's what they reminded me of the most.
Jawas, yeah.
Years
Vicki,
before Jawas appeared.
This is what I wanted to ask you about, because I know some of the information on this, that one of the films that was showing there at the $1 Million Theater really was Ridley's wife's film. Is that correct? Because that's what I was told.
I don't remember. I will be honest with you. I know that you can see the $1 Million Theater straight across the street. And obviously we had to put some name in it. And so you tend to go with a name of a film.
Well, that's what I was wondering, is if it's a fictional film but in the book, Paul's book, it says that Ridley's, the credits on the marquee are for a film by Ridley's wife. But I don't know if that means it was for real or fictional, and I just don't know. And I wondered if you knew that.
No, I didn't ask. I didn't. I know that there's something. Usually they'll put something a fictional.
Yeah, I know a lot of films will do that. Where like Clint Eastwood did it with Dirty Harry on the marquee there. Which, by the way, that whole shot was the back lot there at Warner Brothers. That scene. It's the same street they use in this for Anima Row. And yeah.
Mark has to go. So
yeah,
Mark.
Sorry, I have dinner people here, and I have to.
Well, I know you were meeting with your son today, weren't you?
Huh?
Were you going? I thought you were going to have dinner with your son or something.
No. He's here too.
Okay,
but I have to go out and eat now, so I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question before you go?
Sure, of course.
Do you remember a guy named Eric Brevig?
Eric Brevig? No.
Okay. He worked in the visual effects. He was a camera trainee at the time, and he has gone on to become a visual effects supervisor and won Academy Awards and nominations and stuff. Okay.
And I although I have a visual effects company called FX Model, but most of my work is constrained to the private sector with the U.S. Navy and things like that. So I'm not actually in the movie visual effects, except when I was working with Doug. But that was, like I said, 10 years of the most amazing thing. He said to my wife, he goes, her name's Jody. He goes, "Hi, Jody. Nice to meet you. I'm Douglas Trumbull." "Oh, hi, Mr. Trumbull." He goes, "I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to steal your husband for about 5 years." And she goes, "No, it's okay." And then, it ended up being wonderful because he would include her in other things that he didn't have to. Like if he was having a cast dinner at the house, he'd say, "Please bring Jody." "Oh, okay." Or he'd say, "We're going to go to Niagara Falls to film at the Robert Moses facility for the Tesla movie." He says, "Does Jody want to come with us?" I go, "Really? Yeah, bring her along." "Okay." So she came along, and I got a picture of her with a hard hat, beaming smile, and so it was really interesting. That's, like I said, the kind of guy he was. I don't know that there's many like that out there, like him anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Before you go, I'm showing your website right now.
Oh, yeah, it's FX.
And
there you go.
I'm going to share it with
my youngest son right there.
Our audience. And you can check out his stuff. One of my favorites right here is it's just the Eagle, as you know, is one of my favorite vehicles of all time. And I fucking love the work he did on this Eagle. Here it is. Look at this.
That
Built
thing
this
weighs
from scratch.
50 pounds. Yeah. It's
Look at that.
about 4 feet long, maybe longer.
The details out here is incredible.
The detail's beautiful. It's a stunning model. Yeah, stunning model. It makes having a laser cutter essential.
So there you go, guys. That's the website. I've shared it in the chat. You want to go check out his work. You can even
Sure.
commission him. He'll do stuff for you.
Well, yeah, the
But
sea
I'm
view.
gonna have Mark back on again for just a talk about his life, because this guy's just an amazing dude. He's been through so
I'm
much.
enjoying listening to Vicky's life. This is cool.
Vicky's incredible.
This is got a lot
I
of-
fell in love with this woman when we did the first Blade Runner show, and I'm like, I got to be friends with you.
Look, the woman, listen, don't tell her I said this, but she's always smiling. Is she okay?
Always, always. I said at the beginning of the show, you cannot be in a bad mood around her. It's impossible.
No, I think that's great. Vicky, it was such a pleasure meeting you.
Great pleasure meeting you too.
Okay. Well, thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
buddy. I'll see you, Mark.
All right, thank you, guys. I'm sorry to have to bug
care.
out.
No,
I
man,
thought we were going to go
I
an
get
hour
it.
or so, but
I'm so grateful you showed up.
I
really am.
you're talking about VFX. It's like, that's part of my bag.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it.
I'd like to see you build a spinner, because I have one, but I'd like to see a bigger one. I have three,
I
actually.
almost had to do that for a client. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and he wanted one that was nearly full size.
Here's mine that I built.
Oh, look at that thing! That's so cool. It looks like
And that's before I put
literally-
the decals on it.
Yeah, it looks like I should see Tomy on it or something, or Mattel. It's like it's such a cool design.
It is, and Sid meets brilliance, man. I'm building this thing. Originally, see that black thing that goes around the front wheel? Originally, it was supposed to have treads. That was supposed to be treads. And they had to change a lot of shit for this thing to get it to work, because they built it, the full scale one, on and that was Gene Winston built the full size one on a Volkswagen chassis.
Yeah.
And this is also my blaster.
Wow.
This is from Rack Props, because I've been friends with Rack Props for about 40 years. And the dude is so nice. And he sent this to me as a gift.
Wow.
And it's made from the mold of the stunt rubber gun.
Wow.
Not the functioning gun. But when he pulled it apart, once he made a cast of it, he was able to separate everything. And so when you work it, everything functions on it. The triggers, the bolt, everything.
Wow, that's cool. That reminds me of the grenade launcher that Schwarzenegger used in Terminator.
Yep.
I had that here because I was restoring it for the owner, and that was pretty cool.
It was based on the M79, wasn't it? All right, you get out of here, Mark. Go on.
Yeah. That's right. It wasn't it like an M79, wasn't it?
Yep.
M79. China Lake. China Lake, I think they called it. Yeah.
Yeah, when we start talking about weapons, that's my area of fucking I know shit. Like a lot of people don't know that the blaster is made from British Bulldog and a Mannlicher rifle. The German Mannlicher.
I certainly didn't know that.
But it's what it is. You can make your own. Just buy a Mannlicher rifle.
Vicky, he is a super nerd. Super nerd.
Nerd alert. I have to say something.
Buddy, see you later.
When I was little and I saw my Godzilla movies and Godzilla was stomping all over Tokyo, my little tiny young brain said, "Why is there no furniture in any of the buildings? There's not one stick of furniture in anything. They're just rooms." And I thought, wow, that's kind of odd, but I'm 7, so I don't know I don't know who to ask.
The Japanese were feng shui, don't you know? Everything was empty.
Yeah, so you guys know something here. All right, buddy.
I'm sorry. Thanks, guys. I gotta go.
All right, brother. See you, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
See you guys later.
To get this shot, I was so blown away at what they did. That is a mixture of model with actual roof, a photograph of the roof of the Bradbury building, and they cut out all the windows. And then had the blip actually go over this model, and they shot through it. And it's a mixture of photo art and a bit of miniature on the bottom, and over on the left, I think, is also a miniature. I just, this is one of my favorite shots in the film because I love the blimp. It was one of my favorite vehicles in the film.
It was very cool that they were able to get the effect of the lights going through, there's people on those lights that are moving them through. And so you had to put smoke up the entire building so that you could get the shafts of light. And then the floor has glass tile, so they had to go into the basement and shoot lights up so that you could see the glass tile, and then the beams of light are coming down. It took so long to get it to the point where you could actually shoot it that we never had a lot of time to actually shoot because it took so long, because it was a working building.
Yeah.
And so you could not go in.
You guys would work till like
after everybody
you would work,
left.
Yeah,
and
you would work.
had to have it turned back into a working building in the morning, so that they could, go to work and do their thing.
Yeah. Every night you guys had to clean up all the debris and the water and have the place ready for when they opened at 6 o'clock. I remember reading that going, God damn, I wonder who got stuck with that job.
They had to do that for that one James Bond movie where Vienna stands in for some city, Bratislava, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And they turned our subway system into a Russian-looking one. So they were filming at night because the subway stops going at 1 a.m. and it starts again at 5. And that was the window they had to put up stickers on the walls for the signs and everything. And then so they could pick up service in the morning, turn everything back. That must be such a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah. Well, fortunately, David Snyder said that they discovered that if they put a certain thing down, it looked like dirt, but it would absorb the water. And so it was easier to clean up. If they have to do this for 2 weeks, then you try to figure out, how can I do this in the most efficient way possible? Because I don't have, the manpower or whatever to turn this place back into pristine office building every night. And then my favorite thing would be go in at the beginning of the night and really say, okay, we're going to do this and this. Okay, now let's shit it up. That was what if you were outside, okay, now let's
shit it up.
Shit it up.
I like that.
Let's shit it up. Okay.
I love that
put
one.
The dirt, put the water, put the everything. Everything was let's shit it up. But he'd say okay, let's shit it up.
Yes, Gambit, that's true about using cork because it's easier to clean up later. To answer your question, Alpha, it's called kit bashing. And I've done a lot of it. In fact, the first sci-fi model I ever built was the Millennium Falcon back in 78. And I got angry when I opened it up and I saw the side panels that go up into the fork area, and they're not right. And I'm like, it should have more junk there. So I went and I kit bashed car models to make that look right. And because it's one of the things that I love doing. That's like talking with Marc, we start building model kits. I love building model kits. In fact, Anima is also a geek that loves building model kits. And I've already bought models. Like, here's one right here, just for her and me to build. Here it is.
I'm so excited for that one.
Oh, wow.
And this is the military version, but we're going to take off some of the equipment or just not add it to it. This is TC's helicopter from
Magnum PI.
Yeah.
My favorite TV show of all times.
Yeah.
I love that helicopter.
Did you ever see Capricorn 1?
Yes. Of
Capricorn
course I did, Vicki.
With the helicopters that became the bad guys at the end. And they would
Bell
come
helicopter,
up, and they would look, and then they would look at each other, and then they walk, and then they go off that way.
I mean, in real life, they would never do that, but that looked so fucking cool. Anima got to watch that with me last year. We watched it, and she was like, just enjoying the crap out of the two helicopters, looking at each other like they're people. It's like it's the bad guy is the helicopter. I fucking love that. Yeah,
is the
great film.
helicopter. This inanimate, because you can't see anything. You're not seeing any people. They became those two helicopters, and they would come rising up out of some, like I worked with Sam Waterston after that movie came out.
Good actor.
Fantastic actor. And I said, I love the fact that he was always making jokes, even, by himself. And he's making his jokes. And just as he thought he was saved, the helicopters come and see him. And he's just like, okay, I guess I'm not getting out of this. But great guy. And but I was like, I have to ask, as I try to not geek out over actors like the first few days, so I had to geek out after a few days, but finally I was like, Capricorn 1 is one of my favorite movies.
Oh man, and actors do like that when you bring up an obscure film they were in. They just love that. And
they love that instead of, yeah, you were in Law and Order. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
And it's funny because an old joke of mine just popped up in my head, and please don't be offended by this joke because it's really meant in pure levity. Guy says, have you ever met O.J. Simpson? I said, yeah. He says, did you have a moment like what you're just talking about? I went, oh yeah. And I was completely bullshitting. I've never met O.J. I said, yeah, I saw him in a movie called How to Kill Your Wife. And it's just a mean joke. And the guy looked at me and goes, was he really in a movie like that? Went, no. And I never met him. The guy just laughed going, you're fucking weird. I went, I know. Hey, I do want to thank Six. I've been meaning to come back to this. There's no avatar. It's just black. I don't know what's up with that. Is that just me or are you guys seeing an avatar?
No, it's black.
Okay.
I see the little red play button on the bottom right.
Is it a red? I don't see that. So
no, that just means that she's chatting from YouTube.
What is the super sticker? Because in StreamYard I can't see it.
Shiba Inu hugging a heart.
Oh, she always does that. She's so awesome. I love her. Get back online, Six. We miss you when we don't see you. And she is such a sweetheart. Thank you for the $10 sticker. For her, I wonder if do we still have that video, man? Or did I lose that? Of Rachel.
I'll
play this one because I think, yeah, no, I had the one of her where she says, are you testing to see if I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard? I used to always keep that because I thought it was fucking hilarious line.
Oh, I think we lost that one a long time ago.
I was hoping not. But let me get you. See, I can't use that one because nobody said anything dumb yet. Schnotsky, say something.
Say something.
You're such an ass, Gary.
I know. Yeah. I'm a jerk. No, I'll play this one because this is from something you worked on. So here you go.
I know that I, Jefe, do not have your superior intellect and education. But could it be that once again, you are angry at something else and are looking to take it out on me?
That's what you mentioned before the show, or at the beginning.
That scene, I don't know if I said this earlier or
you told us about everybody knew it. Everybody knew the line.
Everybody knew that scene. Everyone had it memorized. They would say at the drop of a hat, they would go through the whole scene. I mean, like Teamsters, grips, stunts, whatever. Everybody loved that scene.
And Gary loves to use it after insulting Martin.
Yeah, yes. I'll say something mean to Martin,
also then something that you can always say, and then if you are in the inn, then you know where it's from, and it makes it even funnier.
Here's another one that I like to use just for shits and giggles because it annoys Anima when I do it.
Pudding? No, thank you, sir.
Oh, fuck you, Gary. By the way, we have about 20 minutes of slideshow left. Are we going to finish that?
Probably not. I'm probably going to wrap us up here. But what was it? Oh, I want you to tell that story again. You fucking killed me with that story. With Harrison Ford, you're in my eye
Oh,
line. You're in my eye
okay.
line. You're still in my eye line. I fucking love that story.
So, actors are, it's amazing. They've got the camera, they've got the other actors, they've got the lights, they've got everything that they have to ignore and pretend that, they're just talking to somebody. And so we're getting ready to go into Taffy's bar, and I'm at the door, and I've got my radio, and when they roll, I'm supposed to tell Harrison when to come in when they give me the cue. So we're rehearsing it, and we rehearsed it a couple of times, and they're saying, okay, we have to make some adjustments. And so I'm standing across from him, and he looks at me and he says, "You're in my eye line." And your eye line is, you don't want to be standing in somebody's eye line. You want to, let them, do their thing. So I took a
Not
couple of steps back, and he took a couple of steps forward. So we are now exactly the same distance that we were a second ago. And he says, "You're in my eye line." I take a couple more steps back. He takes a couple more steps forward. "You're in my eye line." So this is, all bets are off. So I run, and now I'm around into another set that has a big desk. And I run and I jump behind the desk, and he's looking over the desk, and he says, "You're in my eye line." And so I jump up and I start running across the stage, and he's running behind me saying, "You're in my eye line. You're in my eye line." And we get all the way so far away from where he's supposed to be, and I hear, "Cue Harrison."
Oh.
And
You're about a mile away.
I turn around, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and we both beat feet back to the thing. But of course, the timing is now off. And they go, what happened? Cut. What happened? It's like, my radio. Sometimes it just craps out, and I didn't hear it. And the two of us just looked at each other and started laughing. Like, "I'm not going to tell. Are you going to tell?" "I'm not going to tell."
I'm not going to tell. This is the happy endings of the film. This was done because the studio felt that it was too dark an ending and too European, very Euro ending. And so this is where, what's his name?
Kubrick.
No, it was Kubrick, but it was Michael Dealey approached Kubrick and requested, and this was the footage that was given to him to use. He was allowed to look through all of it, and he picked the ones that he wanted to use. This is where we get, of course, the love theme again repeated by Vangelis, and we get the added narration of I did see her information, and she's different. So he's saying Gaff was wrong. She's different. I don't know how long we got, but who does? And he repeats the line from Gaff. And it's that fucking ending, and they shot it on the back of a platform truck, flatbed. They sat the spinner on the back of this thing, and they did that whole scene going down this road, and of course, again, it's the wrong spinner. Anybody who because I pay attention to every detail as a nerd, it's my job. That I noticed that he's using the police spinner twice in the film when he actually owns the sedan, which doesn't have a lot of the same stuff inside. But also, before we go on this, did you prefer the happy ending or the final cut and director's, that 1991 or 92 director's cut, which was not a director's cut?
Right. I liked the happy ending. I liked the music. I liked seeing green for once. Like maybe just the cities had gone to shit, but outside of the cities, like they say, if man was gone, nature would take over everything. So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe that's what's happened. And there is a place for them to go that they can be in love and see what happens. So it was the only romance in the whole movie. It's the last 5 seconds of the movie. So that was nice. And yeah, it's called a insert car, but an insert car is actually a truck where you attach the vehicle to the back of that truck.
Which is exactly what that is. Yep.
Yes. And so, but it's called an insert car, even though it sounds like you're doing inserts on a car. That's the name of it. But you can put cameras, you can put lights. You've got usually the sound mixer is somewhere in the back seat or at the trunk or something. But you can see real life going by. You can see whatever was needed. So I liked that. I'm used to now, because it's been so long, where they get in the elevator and the door slams and that's the end of the movie. So it's not better. It's not bad. It's okay.
I mean, this is not a real happy ending though, because you know that her time is very limited. So yeah, they get away. And they have time,
he says she's different.
He says she's different, and she doesn't have a termination date.
Yep, he said that at the end of the film, which is why it's called the happy ending. It's I am a fan of the original narration, and so it's still my preferred version. But I wanted the cleaned up version of the final cut with the narration, and
right.
And my buddy,
just wait, he may do it. It's not impossible. He's done 15 versions of the movie so far.
I felt it should have been an option that you can select it and have it put up on there while you're watching it as a separate audio track to go with the.
You mean the narration in the correct place where it should be?
Yeah. Well, I'll show you after the show because I can't show it during the show. I edited the scene with Rutger. And because I've always been angry, one bit of dialogue there that annoyed me, and it's clunky, is when he's watching Roy Batty die, and then all of a sudden his deadpan narration starts. I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're intruding on a fucking beautiful scene about a man dying and another man getting a chance to witness it, with him. That Roy Batty wants to be remembered. That's all it is. That's really all it is at the end is he just wants to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered as a murderer. I want to be remembered as this guy sitting here right now with a dove in his hand. I'm Jesus.
The dove was a bit weird to me.
I do have a question on the ending because I've gone over some of the versions of the Blade Runner script, and one of them had it where they were driving off, but was actually going to end with Gaff and like high-speed pursuit behind them with a bunch of spinners and everything else. And the last line of the script was like, God help us all. Was there ever any talk about that? Okay, so that was excised before filming ever began.
As they left in the insert car with the car behind it, and then they went off to shoot the inside of them doing their dialogue and stuff. There was no other people in pursuit.
Was that a budgetary thing, or was that just never a consideration? We're just not going to shoot it.
The only budgetary thing was the 5th replicant. I mean the 6th replicant.
Oh, with Mary. So the actress that was going to play
Stacey
that was the
Nelkin.
wife, Stacey Nelkin, who was at the time the wife of Barry Bostwick.
Right.
And she.
So in the original movie, he says 6 replicants came, 1 tried to get into Terrell, was killed, and now there's 5 more, except for you only see 4 because Stacey Nelkin's character was taken out because they said, we are so far behind. I mean, she came in, she was...
Well, be honest, because I am curious how this made you feel. The pressure that was being put on you guys by Bud Yorkin and Jerry Parenchio, who are, in my opinion, and I'm friends with David Yorkin, okay? And I said it to him. I said, your dad's a bit of an asshole. And he goes, yeah. And he gave him hell with the video game. And you guys were getting so much pressure off of them because they fired Ridley. And then they were forced through the DGA to hire him back because in the contract, he can't be fired like that. It's like, so you guys had a problematic set from the get-go with those two. They're commonly referred to as the Blade Runner Partnership. And they're also part of the production team with Norman Lear that made shows like Sanford and Son, because they were partners. But in this one, Norman Lear had no part of it. It was just Bud York and Jerry Parenchio. And I've had personal experience dealing with these two. And I fucking dislike these guys. And I'm like, no matter, no wonder Ridley had problems with these guys. Because Matchbox, Hot Wheels, and another company approached me at Blade Zone and Gary Willoughby about trying to get the rights to it. And I said, well, good luck. I said, they will make the licensing price for you so high, you have no chance of making a profit off of it. And so they did a test models. They offered me one. I never accepted. I thought that was weird. Like, why would you want to give me something like that? But they did some tests, and that was Matchbox of the spinner. And then they walked away. They time and time again, people tried to work with the partnership. And the first thing that came out from that partnership that was allowed was back in 1997 when Westwood Studios worked with David Yorkin to make the Blade Runner video game. And I don't know, have you ever seen that video game?
No.
It's actually pretty good. I liked it. It was the first of its kind. It had an emotional thing because, you know, emotions play a huge part with the replicants. So you choose how to do things, and it affects the outcome of the game. There had like 29 different endings to the game. It was crazy. And I thought David did a fine job of honoring the film and doing it.
That's good.
But
yeah.
But the final cut is
I think I'd have PTSD
from that movie. Yeah.
It's like
I bet.
Like what was the movie? Oh crap.
What?
There was a movie about a boss, and I was like, Kevin Spacey was the boss, and this guy was his assistant.
Oh, Horrible Bosses.
Swimming with Sharks.
That one too. Yeah.
And I said, oh, you know, everybody's telling me how wonderful this movie is. And so I'm going to sit down. And 20 minutes later, I had to turn it off because I had gone into PTSD. So I've been in that position one too many times of my boss has got, you know, is insane. And so I was like, I can't watch this. So I would probably, it would be hard for me to do a video game, especially that had all these choices. So what I was finishing with Stacey Nelkin was we were told she came in, she had a costume, she got her makeup done, everything was approved. And the night that she was supposed to start, they said, you're cut because we are so far behind. there's no way that we can introduce a new character at this point. We're already a month, 6 weeks past when we're supposed to finish. So we can't, if we give him a brand new character, he has to introduce them. He has to get you have to tell their story.
I always felt like that wasn't necessary with her. And you'll understand why after I finish, because we hear that one got fried on the electrical fence trying to get into the Thai Rail Corporation. I always thought that because there was discussion for the scene for her body to be found in a closet was one of the things that Fancher had written down, that her character should be found in a closet already dead, that she expired. And I always thought if they weren't able to shoot it, they could have easily done some ADR when they're in the spinner and say, hey, that other replicant, we found her. Or found it.
But that would have been another set that we
not show it. Don't show it. Don't show it. You just hear it. You would just hear it over the radio.
Well, except for if you wanted her in the movie, then you'd have to have her in a set, which had to be lit, which had to be.
Oh yeah, well, you're talking about from the actor's perspective. What I'm saying is, for story perspective, I would have just done some ADR and said that, just like the replicant that got fried, that she was found in a closet and not show it. I just wouldn't show it. I would just have it like a police report while he's flying the spinner in one of those scenes as additional dialogue.
Right.
And I think that would have answered it, and they wouldn't have had to fix the lip flap.
Right. Well, yeah, but that was such a long time ago that nobody knew that they weren't going to be able to get to that until.
Oh no, what you guys went through. This goes back to, again, the shit you guys were going through, because Parenchio and Bud York, and from what I heard, it was more Jerry Parenchio than anybody, because he had a personal disdain for Ridley Scott, and that he just made life miserable for everybody working on the film.
Yeah,
and especially, were you there when he got fired? When Ridley got fired? Were you there?
Ridley got fired when we wrapped, and then they rehired him for editing.
Right.
So he was still there until the last minute, but then like the next day they let him go, and then they had to rehire him back.
Yep, because they kept wanting to fire him. And,
oh yeah,
and the DGA wasn't going to let him. Yeah, it was the DGA.
The first week we shot, the first 5 days we shot, we were 2 days behind. We were already 2 days behind in the first week. So in 5 days, we were now at 7 days. We were behind the entire shoot, and we just got more and more behind. And the problem was the Directors Guild contract was up June 30th. And the year before, the SAG had gone out on strike in the middle of because they hadn't gone on strike in 50 years. They were in the middle of so many different productions, and productions had to continue to pay people so that they would be available when the strike was over to go back straight to work. So they were now afraid that if the directors go out, what the fuck are we going to do? So only things that could finish by the end of the contract were supposed to be finished. So we were supposed to finish in May. Now it's June, and the contract is coming up. There was no strike, and so we kept going. But the pressure had been on this whole time, because they were like, if we go, we're already sinking and under the weight of the amount of money that we're spending on this, which we didn't anticipate. And now if we get shut down in the middle, we have to pay people to just sit around until we can get them to come back. So we're only going to do anything that would finish before the end of that contract. And it was not. So more and more pressure kept coming on that we have to finish so that we don't get in that position. And that was the problem. That was a huge amount of problem. I mean, like I said, we had so many people who got fired at the beginning of the show. Whole departments had to be redone. There was just a lot of turnover. So by the end, you had like a cohesive great group, but you've been through, you've gone, as Hannibal, you've already gone over the mountain, and now now all you have to do is ransack this town. But all the stuff that you've gone through before has been insane.
Look, Vicki, I'm going to have you back because there's so much more I wanted to talk to you about with this film. And because I wanted to get into some of the stuff, like Morgan Paul was there from the beginning. His job as was to work with the actresses for audition, like Sean Young playing the Deckard character. And in fact, for those who don't know, the very first trailer for Blade Runner that has narration in it, that's not Harrison Ford, that's Morgan Paul. And a lot of people don't know that, and that's what that is. When you hear that one where he's talking, it's supposed to be Deckard. And he kind of sounds a little bit like him, but I know the difference of their voices because I was close friends with Morgan. I know that voice anywhere. He had the second best email. His one was Skipper Vision. It was something like that at Yahoo. And then the best email from any of the cast was and he's dead now, so I'm comfortable saying what it was, is Rutger Hauer. His email was fartvilla at not Gmail, but AOL.com. And the first time I got an email from him, I'm like, who the fuck is that? Oh, it's Rutger. Like fartvilla at AOL.com. That's Rutger, man. And Rutger just cracked me up. He was the sweetest guy, though. Like when Roy Batty's birthday came up, I messaged him. I said, "Hey man, would you do a video for us?" He did a lovely video talking about the inception date for Roy Batty, and then of course that we lose him the same fucking year that his character died is so fucking weird. Roy Batty and Rutger dead, 2019. I'm like, wow, that's a weird life. And I was bummed out around that time too, and that's why I think that's one of the reasons I didn't go to that, festival in Los Angeles. Because that was when my studio burned down.
As far as I heard, he was planning on being there, and then he got sick.
He got fucking sick, man. But the reason I didn't go, now that I look back on it, is also because my studio burned down.
Well,
and
that would do it.
I was like in a very dark place because I lost a lot of artwork. And I'm like, man, that's not cool, God. I don't appreciate it, man. But anyway, I want to have you back again so we can talk more about Blade Runner because I never get enough of that film. But I don't want to trigger your PTSD, babe. We'll try not to do that.
Sell Gary on Streets of Fire because he still hasn't.
Oh no, I've
it.
got it planned. I have the movie. I got it just because of you, Shinatsky. So look, I appreciate the pushing of it and all that shit. But look, man, I will watch it. I promise you, I'll watch it. Okay. But as far as bringing it up all the time,
listen, fuckwad, so you can shut the fuck up, okay?
All right.
Yes, Streets of Fire and Dragnet.
He's producing a film, by the way. He's producing a film that he wrote, and Tom Conkle is directing it starting on the 22nd of this month. Very proud of Shinatsky.
I'm doing a sizzle to hopefully get a film, TV, whatever made.
Yeah, it's a proof of concept,
Okay.
And I think that's really cool that they're doing it. And I kind of want to talk to Tom because I like Tom a lot. He's a really good guy. I don't know if you know him. He's a sweetheart as an actor, but he's also a very good director. And he started really kind of doing his own thing. And I worked on one with Shinatsky, but I just have no time to work on this fucking script. You know, it's just no time. I do all the writing in the past, and then now I'm working on a book that I have to finish. I don't have any time for it. But I do have a finished script that I want you to fucking read, Shinatsky.
I love you.
I'm not
too,
hearing it.
Kurt.
I love you too, buddy. All right, Al Nickerson is here, and he's been quiet the whole show. And Al, let's talk about you just for a second before we go, and I will share this link for you here in the group. Are you still here, Al?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right, man. You've been quiet. Any questions you want to ask Vicki about Blade Runner?
You know, it's funny. Well, Vicki, thank you for sharing those stories, because Blade Runner is my favorite film, and I loved everything you had to say. And I really appreciate, hearing those stories. That was fantastic. So thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome.
Yeah, that was great. The final cut is still my favorite. I like, well, I'm not a big fan of the happy ending. And not to upset Gary too much. Yeah, I don't care for the voiceover.
Yeah, Jerry just upset him enough.
Fuck you, man. Fuck you. I can't stand you, man.
No, but this is great. It was funny because, like, during the video, like, I kept getting certain questions, but then Vicki would just answer them. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that makes sense. Like the stuff with Mary, I thought that, I had questions about that. Oh, well, one thing was the T-shirts, the governor T-shirts.
Ah, yes.
What's the story behind that?
Yes. Okay. So, there used to, in Los Angeles Times, there used to be a Sunday magazine, Los Angeles Times magazine, and there would be, kind of interviewing different, more Hollywood kind of stuff. And so I guess somebody came and interviewed Ridley about the movie. And so there was a picture, like a drawing of Blade Runner, and they had asked him questions about, this is your third film, and how do you find working in Los Angeles? And he ripped us a new one that he was upset because normally he can operate the camera, and because of the union rules, he couldn't operate the camera, and he had to have a cinematographer that he had to communicate with, and that whenever he asked for something, so people were not so incredibly happy to let him do whatever he wanted to do. And Marvin Westmore, who was the head makeup artist, saw this, and he,
by the way, part of the Westmore family,
part of the Westmore dynasty. His
Thank you.
grandfather or his uncle were the ones that started like Frankenstein and the Wolfman and Phantom of the Opera, and et cetera, et cetera. And he went and bought several copies of this and brought them and put them on the table next to craft service. So people, oh, look, here's our movie. And they start reading it. The crew is like, fuck you, man. Like, we're killing ourselves to do whatever it is that you want us to do. And you're telling us that, we're second rate and we're lazy and everything. And so the Best Boy Electric had said, and he had a little sign that he had put up in the electrical truck that said, Will Rogers never met Ridley Scott.
I never met a man I didn't like.
Because he said, I never met a man I didn't like.
That's great, because that's Will Rogers saying, I never met a man I didn't like.
And so people knew that because they kept hearing it, but now there's a reason for us to encompass that. And so the crew went out and bought shirts that said, Will Rogers never met Ridley Scott. And some other people bought a shirt that said, Yes, Governor, my ass. Because Ridley had said, back in England, I tell them to do something and they say, yes, Governor, and they're just always questioning me and they're not doing. And so it became a t-shirt war. One night, all of the Will Rogers t-shirts came out. The next night, all of the Yes, Governor t-shirts came out. And so Ridley, Katie, Michael, and Ivor, the 4 Brits that were in leads, said, we need to come back with our own t-shirt. So they made 4 t-shirts that said, xenophobia is horrible or something like that. And they wore them. And I said, it's funny because nobody knows what xenophobia is. So your big comeback is not a big comeback because nobody knows what you're talking about. But so that was
the insult went over their heads.
It went over their heads. Xenophobia is not a word that a lot of crew members hear all the time. And it's like phobia, I get, but I don't know what xeno means. And since he had been on Alien, they thought, well, isn't that a xeno monster? Like, okay, so we're afraid of monsters from Alien. Okay, whatever. And so it was really the American crew banding together to say that wasn't cool. Like, or say that when we're done. Like when we're not trying to kill ourselves doing your movie. If you think that we're terrible, then wait until we've finished and then say, I thought they were terrible. But to say it while we're shooting your movie and trying, we're being rained on, we're being smoked out, we're being abused. We're shooting nights after night after night after night after night. And then you're telling us, well, we're not doing a good job. That was just a horrible, horrible thing. And 6 weeks-ish into production, the first AD was fired, Newt Arnold. And it was over a holiday weekend or something. And I got a phone call from one of the producers saying, Newt is out. And basically you said, okay, this is really a veiled threat against Ridley. Like, okay, we can't fire Ridley and we can't fire Jordan, but let's fire the first AD and then he'll know that, his neck is on the line. And so they fired Newt. And when we came back and found out that Newt had been fired, the crew got black armbands. And everybody put a black armband on at lunch.
Oh my God.
We put a black armband on and never said anything. You can ask us what it's for, but we didn't. It was not. So that was the beginning. And then later on, we get this, well, the crew is not good and they're not working hard. And that's when the t-shirt wars started.
All right. Well, thank you, Vicki. God bless you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Amen.
But I think that was my favorite. I wish, as an assistant director, I couldn't get one, but I really wish that I was able to get one because I thought that was brilliant. Will Rogers never met Ridley Scott.
Yep, there you go. I love that too. By the way, I'm going to get some just last comments or questions. I'm going to go to Anima because she's still in Austria and it's very late there. And she's getting a little whiny like a kitty cat. I'm doing tired. I love her.
Dude.
Anima, what?
No, all questions have been answered. It's almost 1 a.m. and I'm falling asleep.
Well,
here, so.
I said comment or question. Would you like to say something to her about being on here?
But I love having you, Vicky. You're hilarious.
That's it.
It's so much fun
That's
to hang
all.
out.
Yes, that's all I'm asking for. Deleted scenes. You're next.
Well, it seems like every year I learn something new about Blade Runner, and I think that's one of the cool things about the movie is that
Me
all
too.
these years later we are still talking about it. And you have I very safe to say a temperamental director, temperamental star, at least at moments. You have the producers trying to direct a film. And the crew caught in the middle, and you guys did a fantastic job.
Oh, you had a chance for a fucking quote from the movie.
I loved this movie. Go for it. What was it?
The line from the movie should have been, "You did a man's job."
I blew it. Damn. All right, next time then.
Kunatsky, any last thoughts or questions you'd like to say to Vicky?
Oh, just with Ridley, it was like, oh yeah, real surprise. A Brit comes into another country and acts like he owns it.
That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. That's a good point. And our dear producer Martin, any last comments or a question for her?
I hope not. I still plan to live a lot. But you said last comment.
Not like last in this life.
You didn't ask for your last words, Martin. Jesus.
No, well, Vicky, I am so thrilled and happy to having you again. I can't wait to the day we can do this again. We need you back here. I told you,
me and my wife. You on.
Yes, me and my wife are big fans of yours. I follow you on Facebook, and I'm so happy. Really, really, I'm so happy to having you here. All your anecdotes. Oh my God, the eye lines.
Oh my God.
So, God bless you, and please come back soon.
I will.
Well, look, we are going to do City or Streets of Fire. So, but I do want to do another Blade Runner show because the next one I want to talk about the director's cut, and I'll probably do, instead of doing the director's cut, we'll probably do the final cut and talk about the director's cut because it was an attempt without the editor or Ridley directly involved. And what I remember hearing was that Ridley showed up for a preview of it and he fell asleep.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I heard on the director's cut. So here you go. We did our poll. I'm ending it now, and it changed. So it's ending at the original 33% for theatrical, 33% for the director's cut, and the final cut is 33%. Somebody's
we are
being
seeing
an
different
asshole.
numbers, Gary.
It's now 40% and 40%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
20,
know.
40, 40,
I'm not showing. I just told you it's different. It just changed. I just said that, so it wouldn't be confusing for you. So here it is. I'm going to take it. Shut up.
You shut up.
Wait. Before that, we have a super chat from RRTNS. TNC. I'm sorry.
Saw cinematic version in 1982. Yeah. It's my best, in my opinion.
I like it myself. I'm very fond of that film because the work print. We need to do that one too. I forgot about that. We got to do that one too because the work print's even more different with the narration.
Yeah,
it's completely different narration, and that blew my mind. The first time I saw that, I'm like, "Holy shit!" And we would have never seen that if someone at Warner hadn't fucked up for a film festival being done at the Egyptian.
Right.
And they sent the wrong version. They sent the work print. And people are like, what is this?
Well, that's the thing is, normally when you finish a movie, when it's getting ready to be released, you have a cast and crew screening and you invite the people who worked on the movie to get to see the movie before it for free.
Right.
and you may have a party afterwards or a cocktail party or whatever. And they had one, but it was only for the executives. So the department heads and the executives got to go. But once again, the crew was left out. And the crew was left out of dailies. The crew was left out of a lot of stuff. And so it was just kind of, it was hard to put as much as you're trying to put into it to make it as great as possible and keep being said, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. And that's frustrating.
Say that like Harrison Ford saying you're in my eye line.
But only if you can escape. Only if you can run away.
Only if you can run away. All right. We're going to be getting out of here. But before we do, I want to thank RRTNZ for his, or NTZ, for his $2 super chat from Australia. His favorite version is the theatrical version, like me. So deeply appreciate that, man. And here is your video from another classic film called The Big Country.
I told you. I told you I'd do it. I told you, but you wouldn't believe me. Damn your soul! I told you.
Movie. Anima watched it and she fell in love with it too. Have you ever seen that movie, Vicki?
Nope.
You need to check that out sometime. It's one of my favorite westerns, directed by William Wyler. And you got Chuck Heston, you've got Gregory Peck, and I always joke, he learned how to do a backhand on his kids from acting in this movie. Because that whole joke about him beating his kids to shit. And anyway, you got Gregory Peck, you've got oh my God, Chuck Connors, and the gentleman who played the snowman in a lot of those, what do you call them?
Burl Ives?
Burl Ives in this movie. He got an Oscar for that character. Great movie.
I was like, that looks like Burl Ives.
Yeah, and there's another video from that film that Martin likes to play. Would you like to play it so we can get out of here?
Okay.
Before you do that, Martin, Aratian said, deepest apologies to Americans, Australia and New Zealand are the same. I'm sorry.
Anima, just remember 1982. Not the year. That's the number of times you need to hit Gary when you see him again.
Oh, I know. I will smack the shit
You
out
see,
of him.
11 Alpha confirms. New Zealand, Australia, it's all the same. I don't think so.
It's all the same. It's the same.
Okay. And,
go ahead, Martin. Play your video.
My video is your video, my friend.
You take a hell of a long time to say goodbye.
Yeah, we like hitting
that
Gary with that one.
You need to see that movie, Vicki, because I'd like to know what you think of it. It really is one of my top 3 favorite westerns of all time. I just love that movie. It's about a man walking his own path and not feeling like I need to prove anything to anyone. Only person I need to worry about is what I think of me, and that's really the basic soul of that movie. And I love that. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Stick around, Vicki, so we can talk for you just a few seconds at the end of this. At the show. But hey, everybody, I want to thank everyone for showing up today. It's just, I wish I could have interacted with you guys more, but when I have a guest like this, I tend to like to focus on those questions and let you go. Let you do what you're going to do and say what you're going to say. But I appreciate all of the things. I read everything you guys wrote. Wonderful. Thank you. Gambit, Snorty, Penny, Sally Forth, why'd you say hi, Sally? Oh, that's Mark. He didn't know. Okay. JPRPHI. I don't know how to say that guy's name.
I always say Japer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then our good friend Slasher Fred has one of my favorite avatars. I'll get to it in a second. 11 Alpha, my army buddy. Dr. Michael Jones, 76. Pat S., who's a good friend of mine. Love that guy. Hell in Place, Sandra Hammerschlag, Read by Nature. Read by Nature shit on me a couple times in chat if you guys didn't see it. John the Beagle
Justified.
Dad. Justified. Connie Cleary, Genghis Khan, who's a friend of mine from KGRA. He watches our show there and started watching over here. My good Marine buddy, Pope Metallicus. He's here. He stopped in. Lord Thoth was here, another good friend. Let's see. Country Shape Media. No, it's Country Shape Media that has the cool avatar, right?
Yeah.
The Michael Myers meets James Hong. Yeah, that's it. Enigma Severus, Mephisto dropped in. Six, of course. And thank you again, Six. We love you. E. Clay Thomason, my buddy Zax. Fuck you, Zax. And RRTNZ. That's it. So thank you guys for popping in. We deeply appreciate it. Let me see if I can find that avatar up here. Well, I can go in here because I know it's in here. There it is. That looks like Michael Myers and James Hong's, love child. Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
And he's saying one of your favorite lines, Scary.
I know. You know that James Hong called me one day because I sent him an email and it had my phone number and he called me and I get home from work and I'm looking and there's like a message for me and I'm like, oh, somebody called me. So I hit the button and I get this. This is what he really said. Hello, this is James Hong. I only do eyes. Call me. I shit you not. That was his tone and everything. And I sat and listened to that thing for like hours, just going, oh my God, I got to fucking, the only other cool fucking message I've ever got was from Bruce Campbell. And I kept that one, both of them for a long time. And then they're on those old cassettes and it got lost in one of my moves and I didn't have them anymore. And I'm like, oh, I fucking love those things. But, and we still got James Hong. He's still with us, man. He's, what is he, 100?
Not quite, but
98.
very close.
Yeah, it's like, God, man, he's been around for a while. He's been making movies since the late 50s.
He just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame last year or the year before.
They took way too long to give that to him.
Well, they take so long on things, but we're because someone has to pay for it. It's like $10,000, I think, or 30.
What?
Yeah, they're not free.
Crazy.
So
Yeah, I know
fans
that.
usually
10,000?
pay for them, and my problem is they don't keep them in repair because some of them will get broken and cracked. Now nobody cares about Madonna's star because we're all glad it fell apart, just like her. But when you get these great classic actors that are still with us, that we're lucky to have around, get that while they're alive. I fucking love that, and that's great that he got one. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was great. Everybody that watched us over on Deleted Scenes channel, thanks for dropping in. And did anybody else share?
No, I think.
No, but we probably have people on Rumble and Twitter, so goodbye to you too.
So everybody on Rumble, bye guys. Everybody over on Twitter, bye. Thanks for watching. Don't worry, you're going to have her back. She's coming back. Really is one, you are one of our favorite guests. We love you. All right. Hey, everybody go have a great fucking Saturday. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Matt Damon.